Hello everybody and welcome to This Nintendo Life episode 305. Is that correct? Or did I not change it? I didn't change it. It's 306. You know what? You know what? It all makes sense this time because it's all about time, you know? Time is the factor here, and we're against time, and time is our true enemy. But that's why it was back, because, you know, Kronos did a trick on me, and he turned back the time to last time. But this time it's actually...
I told you time travel was a bad idea. Like, no one.
Yeah, Bally's always hated it. He's always... This is why, look, I'm going to say we're going to get to the end of Hades 2, and Bally's going to be like, yeah, I hated it. It was all time travel, all this nonsense, and yeah, it was terrible. But hello, I'm MBZ. This is episode 306, in 306. Fact, for October. We're in October, the least favourite month of mine for many reasons, but mainly because everyone's like, oh, it's time for Halloween, and I'm like, I hate that, so you guys have fun, but I'll be over here doing non-scary things.
It's like 10 weeks till Christmas.
Yeah, it is, yeah.
But Bally Jr. has informed me that his favourite season is winter.
That's good. He's a good child for that. He knows what he's talking about.
Big Christmas fan.
That's great. Obviously, I was born in the winter, in the cold, in the dark, so I always like it best. It's my favourite. So I'm glad that he's also come to the same conclusion, because it is the correct one. And you know, as the world starts heating up and global warming continues to ever destroy our entire planet, yeah, it's just getting worse and worse when it's not winter. So winter brings the cold at least to keep us alive. So that's good. But hi, I'm MBZ. I'm here to talk about video games and not the impending end of humanity in the world. But I'm joined by Bally, who also is here to talk about that. How you doing, Bally?
Hi, MBZ. I'm good. We were just talking briefly off Mike about Bally Jr. playing a lot of Astrobot with me, which has been going very well. But yeah, I'll talk about that another time, I think. But yeah, it's going good. That guy is getting good at his platforming, and it's very satisfying to see. And he even sent you a voice note, MBZ.
He did. That was very cute. I enjoyed that a lot. He killed an enemy and was very proud of himself. So he had to let me know this achievement, as he knows that I am the ultimate gamer. You know, the one who would really appreciate it. So that was very very important, which is great. So yeah, we're well on his way to. Have you got his GG app ready? His backloggery account, so that he can log Astrobot as his first game, and then we can go from there. I think that's.
I was just thinking, like, I must have been like, I don't know, 23 when I started logging games, so like he's a good 20 years before I started thinking about it, so that's we'll get it logged when he beats it. I think it's going to be a big moment for him, a big one.
It'll be huge. So looking forward to hearing about that when that happens inevitably, but we are here to talk about other things, such as video games, what have been coming out and what we have been playing. So Bally, do you want to tell the fine folks at home what today's show is going to be?
For the first segment, we're going to talk about Hades 2. You have played a ton more than me and but I've played, like, I don't know, 6-8 hours-ish, so we're going to talk about that. And then for the second segment, we have both beaten Hollow Knight Silksong. I have beaten the main game, and you have beaten the secret good ending.
The sicko game,
So we're going to talk about everything to do with the main game in terms of spoilers, enemies, bosses, tools, weapons, encounters, everything, including the main game. But you're going to have another discussion probably later in terms of the secret ending that I'm probably not going to get to this year, and we'll probably struggle to get to next year, but I'll get there at some point.
Yeah, we'll have something on that coming up. But let's get into it, Bally. It has been a wild month of video gaming, of course. I played 61 hours of Hollow Knight, and I have also played 61 hours of Hades 2, although that 61 hours total is including the 36 hours that I played of early access.
Yeah, you've not done 61 hours in a week. But yeah.
No, I haven't. I've not gone that far with it. That would be a little insane.
It's not Xenoblade, okay? Like, it's not.
No.
It's not quite that mad.
Yeah, let's just wait until Fire Emblem comes out next year. Then we'll get to true sicko numbers. Yes, Hades 2, a game that is very interesting to talk about. One that, of course, has been long anticipated by many people, and of course has been played by a lot of people because it has kind of existed in the early access form for a while on PC. So it launched, obviously, on Switch and Switch 2, as well as on PC into 1.0. And so Bally has finally had a chance to jump in and play it also. But let's do some some context, setting some history for this. So we have both played the original Hades. It came out back in 2020 during pandemic year when everyone had enough time to play 100 times, as is what I did. Did love that game greatly. It is, I would say, probably in my top 5 games of all time, Hades 1. I think it is phenomenal in terms of what it brought to the roguelike genre, the way that it weaved narrative in with that kind of like repetitive, kind of like run-based gameplay, and how it weaved this kind of like mythological tale with, very interesting characters who always had something cool to say, and you never really repeated dialogue, and every run was very different in terms of the kind of boons that you got and the gods and the way things could work together, and you get these broken kind of like builds that you would have running, and all the weapons were very different and interesting, and it even had like these difficulty modifiers, which I went deep on, of like, okay, well, in order to get all the relationship stuff done and to give people, all these kind of gifts, I need to ramp up the heat level and therefore, fight harder versions of these bosses and harder versions of these enemies to get through it, and then get the reward for doing so, which would then progress the story beyond even just the regular credits, right? I played Hades 1 for over 100 hours. I did 100 runs. Whoa. And I beat 50 of them, so I had a 50% win rate, I think. Jesus. At the end of Hades 1. I adored that game. I played it for months after it came out, pretty much every day after work, because this was the year that I started at PlayStack, so I'd been in PlayStack for like maybe 3-4 months when Hades came out, and every day after work I would just like do a run, and then that was it basically. So I played a lot of it, then played a lot of it over a long period of time until kind of the end of that year, where I pretty much exhausted everything. Like I got every character maxed out relationship wise, and decorated a bunch of the hub and everything, so did a huge amount of that. Bally, you also played a good amount of Hades 1 as well.
Yeah, I can't really remember how much was it, like 20 to 30 hours, I want to say. You did, I think, more than that, because you got the real ending. You did all 10 kind of defeats of Hades to get to the credits. I got the 10 wins, got the credits. Very cool story. I love Hades. I mean, I gush about Hades, but it's not in my like top 5 games of all time, quite like you, MBZ, but it might be in my top 10. Definitely like my top 15.
Wow,
I'd say. It's a really special game. I think it was probably my first proper roguelite, and
or at least the game that got you to like a roguelike in some sense.
Exactly. And it also is the game that reaffirmed to me that I am in fact a turtle, and I like to stand back and hit at range and do that sort of thing, which I feel like all my most successful runs did. I don't think I ever got a successful run with the sword. I could be wrong, or maybe I think I might have got one with the sword, but I basically boosted my cast to the point where I was able to still do a range strategy. So yeah, I love Hades 1. I agree. I think just the way it weaves story and gameplay and keeping mechanics fresh by introducing new gods, new boons, new ways of playing. It's very, very impressive. And yeah, I was always, I mean, even though you gave me your Steam Deck last year, I was always going to wait for 1.0 to play Hades 2. That's a number of reasons, but one of the main reasons is I don't have enough time to play early access games and then play 1.0 games, so I was really looking forward to this beat. And yeah, I'm excited to talk about Hades 2, but yeah, Hades 1 I love, and I think it's sitting quite high up in our top games of all time. It's definitely in the top 10. I can't remember what exact rank.
It is. Yeah, it's somewhere in there. But yeah, I mean, I think it's just a phenomenal achievement, and like it was kind of the peak of what Supergiant had built to, right? If you look at their past history and their games, like they'd always had really good games, but they never really broke through to the mainstream. I'd say Bastion was their biggest hit before this, in terms of it came out at the right time. It was like when indies were quite new as a concept, and so Super Meat Boy, Braid, Bastion were all around the same time, like those initial indie games coming out. And so I think Bastion did quite well for them and helped them, kind of build up as a studio. And then every game subsequent to that did worse. So Transistor did a little bit worse than that, and Empire didn't really sell that well at all. And so Hades was, in a lot of ways, kind of saved the studio. That it came through, was a big hit in early access, but then the real kind of juice was in when it came to 1.0 and it came to Switch day one. That's when it blew up and just became this mega hit that everybody was playing, everybody was talking about. And I think is interesting because, like, I find that hit indie games kind of transcend genre boundaries in a lot of ways, and I think that's what Hades did with the roguelike genre, was like kind of bring it to the mainstream and make a game so compelling that even if you hadn't played one before or you weren't that into it, it was the thing that really kind of grabbed you and you know, very, very much imprinted itself onto you know, the identity of what games were going forward. So yeah, a lot of expectation, I would say, going into Hades 2. What to expect from it. This is an interesting conversation to have because I obviously I've played a lot of Hades 2 before this moment because it came out last year in May. It was very interesting because they dropped there was like the week before it came out, actually, or a couple of weeks before it came out, they dropped a technical test for Hades 2, and that technical test dropped the day before I had my flight to Japan. So I downloaded it on my Steam Deck, and then all I did on the flight to Japan was play the technical test for Hades 2, and I loved it, and I was so like into what they were doing, and it was different, but it was the same. And then while I was in Japan, it was actually the infamous recording, Bally, of me on the toilet using the bidet as part of my Japan travel log. That is the day that Hades 2 released into early access on Steam. Because I remember scrolling on the toilet that morning and being like, oh shit, they've released it. And so I was like very happy that I brought my Steam Deck with me to Japan. Actually, I brought my Switch and my Steam Deck to Japan just in case Hades 2 came out, basically. And then I played Hades 2 on the plane all the way home from Japan, basically. And then obviously played a bunch of it. Really loved it. There is, in fact, 2 hours of Hades 2 chat on this feed. So if you are someone who has played a lot more of Hades 2 than Bally and wants a bit more further spoiler chat on it, go back to that episode from a year ago, because that's me and Devon, who had also played it, talking about some of the more spoilery stuff and some of the stuff that we had found and some of the surprises that happened kind of like early-ish on in the game. So yeah, if you want to do that, that is in the feed and you can listen to it. So I'm coming to Hades 2 having already loved Hades 2, having played a good amount of it and having had a lot of the impact and surprise last year, which is weird coming to it now because I've never really done this before, where I've played an early access game, a significant amount, and then I've come back at 1.0, and I haven't restarted. I just kind of picked up my save file. And so it's been interesting because I've been having a fantastic time, and I'm loving playing it, but I don't have that much of the impact of Hades 2 because my impact was last year. And so it's this weird thing in my brain of having to like take that experience and say, no, just remember how much that impacted like the first time you got to the second boss fight in this game, which I think is one of the best in terms of the way that it treats music and how that is all intertwined.
The boss
into
I'm
things.
currently stuck on as well.
The boss that Bally's currently stuck on, which was like one of my favorite moments when I played it last year. I was like, oh my god, this is so cool. And some, you know, the boss that comes after that is extremely cool. And then the fourth area of the game is like musically so fucking cool. Like there are so many moments that stand out that were hugely impactful, as well as like the big thing about this game that we're not going to talk about here, but there's a big thing that makes this game significantly different, that is very cool. So yeah, all that bound up in, yes, Hades 2, I've been having a great time with it, but also my great time with it was also mainly last year, so it's a weird situation, but there's lots to talk about with it. So Bally, how have you found it so far?
I have really enjoyed it. I'm glad I waited for 1.0. It feels really nice to be back in doing runs, developing the stories, the characters, having those relationships, and just going run after run, identifying boons that you gravitate more towards and weapons and exploring. I've only unlocked 4 of the 5 weapons so far.
6 weapons there are
6
total.
Weapons.
So yeah.
So learning, right, I'm normally quite turtly and rangy. How does that playstyle impact my relationship with these weapons, and finding myself gravitating a bit more towards some of the closer combat stuff, certainly.
Interesting.
And
okay.
then, yeah, I think maybe we can jump into the changes from the first game, but I'm finding this game is a little bit more about brains than brawn early on. Like I think that, and when I say brawn, I mean like how fast you are on the sticks, how
pure
fast,
dexterity, right?
Dexterity, yeah. I think that being tactical about, because I think Melenaway is slower and she can't dash upon dash like Zagreus. She's dash into a sprint, which I think feels slower. And I'd be interested in you if you can remember this from the first game, MBZ, but I've found myself, especially with weapons like the axe and like some of the weapons that have more combos, that she definitely gets locked into a combo more before you can dash. And sometimes on some of those tougher bosses, you can get a little bit stuck and then get hit by the boss before you're dashing out. I feel like Zagreus could dash cancel. Like I feel like a lot of his, you could dash over the top of a combo and the combo would stop and he would dash away. I don't know if I'm making that up.
I think you can run out of stuff. Like the axe has like its third hit, which is like a big down hit, basically. Yeah. Maybe that locks you into it, but I think a lot of the other like starts or the second hit you can dash out of, I want to say.
Right,
maybe it's just the last one that kind of locks you in potentially.
Yeah.
But yeah, I see what you mean though in terms of being more tactical about it, which kind of comes down to the way that the cast works in this game that is totally different and is actually something that I use a lot more frequently in Hades 2 than I ever did in Hades 1. Hades 1 had the cast, but it was a weird thing. It was like these weird diamonds that you threw and they...
Oh, I loved the cast in Hades 1. It was like...
Yeah, I barely ever used the cast. Like I did when I had to, and there were certain builds that worked really well with it, but I really didn't love it as a concept. It was odd. It was like, here are these weird diamonds you just throw, and they didn't feel very coherent or consistent with the rest of the game. And the cast here is so much more interesting to me in that it is a tool that you can use for increasing damage and for kind of like helping to build your boons around of like, now I have a cast that Zeus's thunder comes down and so you drop it down, does damage to enemies. But it's far more interesting as a blockading tool, as a it's like in Fire Emblem where you put your knight in front of the door and people just run against it.
It can act as a trap because I think it is it not Eurydice, as who's the god of love?
Aphrodite,
her cast sucks everyone into the middle, whereas Poseidon, his cast pushes everyone to the outside. And like, I had one stupid combo that I was really frustrated by it, where I think I had Zeus plus Poseidon. So Zeus's cast basically does damage the longer you're in the range.
Right, because it's just doing lightning bolts while you're in
but then Poseidon was pushing everyone outside. So it's just like, this is just stupid.
You had anti-synergy, basically.
Yeah, there are definitely anti-synergies you can do quite easily. So that was annoying. So I'm finding layering the cast in the right way is really important. Layering any boons you get in the right way, I'm finding the balance quite difficult early on. And what I mean by that is I found, I've got this, what's that weapon with the, one of the first weapons with the dueling fists. What's it called?
The dueling fists?
Dueling knives, sorry.
The two, Lim and Oros. They're the dagger and sickle, basically.
The dagger and sickle. So they've got like this cool range thing where they can do like a spread. And it's very similar to the spread of like the special on the bow and arrow from the first game. It's
yes,
great. This is a great weapon to just kind of spread attack. You can take out lots of enemies in a row. Fantastic. I'm a big sucker for stuff like that. But then I found on the first boss, Hecate, where you're kind of, I'm like, I'm doing the spread, but it's doing hardly any damage there. I need stuff that hits harder. And then I said to myself, next run, I'm going to go less on spread and more on stuff that hits harder. And what happens is then I get overwhelmed by enemies because my spread is weak. But then when I get to Hecate, I do much better on Hecate. And then the second I get past Hecate, I'm in the next area and there's a large number of enemies, they swamp me. So I'm finding myself trying to balance between prepping myself for the kill rooms where I want a good spread to take out lots of enemies at once versus I need to hit hard up close to take down these bosses before they just dominate me. And finding that balance I have found quite hard.
There is an interesting thing you could have done with the spread there that actually kind of kills both birds with one stone, which is the spread is great, obviously, because it hits wide to everybody. However, if you stand right next to an enemy and then fully charge the spread, because you're right next to them, you shoot all of them into that enemy at once. So the way to deal with Hecate with the spread is to just stand right next to her and fully charge it, and then all 5 or 7 knives go straight into her, and so you do maximum damage with the spread, basically. So,
nice.
So there are ways around that, essentially.
And there's definitely boons that do similar, like one of Aphrodite's boons. It was like your long range weapons do more damage close up, so it's like encouraging you to get closer, and stuff like that was happening. And then I basically also went with what's the spear equivalent weapon in this game?
The staff,
the
first
staff,
one,
yeah. So I had the
yeah.
staff, and I basically powered up the long range special to the max, and that is the only run against Hecate that I have done without taking a single bit of damage. Was basically
Oh wow,
traditional Bally, turtling,
just hide in
standing
the
back,
corner,
attacking from range. I'd already boosted that attack with as many boons and power ups as possible.
right?
And I took her out, and she like said, "Well done, you like beat me without taking any damage." Blah blah blah.
Oh, you got specific dialogue for that?
She said something extra congratulatory, yeah, which was nice.
Nice.
And then I'm just finding I'm taking a lot more damage generally than the first game. I think it is just a little bit harder, and stuff like layering armor and boosting armor, like I'm very quickly losing armor as soon as I'm getting it and this kind of thing. And
Right.
yeah, it's tough, but I'm really enjoying it. I'm on the second boss. Can we talk about the second boss spoilery, or you don't want to do it yet? Or
Yeah, I guess if you don't want to hear about it, then skip forward a little
Sure.
bit. But it's still relatively early game, so I imagine a lot of people who are playing know about it. But yeah, go ahead.
what's her name? Stella?
Scylla,
Scylla, yeah.
Scylla and the Sirens, basically.
Scylla and the Sirens, and yeah, it's an awesome boss fight. I really don't mind being stuck on it too much, but I'm really struggling to get there, and they just seem to do so much damage to me so fast. Like
Yeah.
it's like 12 damage a pop for most of the hits they do, which is
Right.
a lot. And I have been given advice by Odysseus when I got back to camp, which was very satisfying. He's just like, target the drummer first. I'm like, okay, right, I'm targeting the drummer. And sure enough, after that advice, that's the best run I've been on. But then the drummer like went into like shell, like he put up shields, and then the other two are running around, and it's like
overdrive mode, basically.
Right. So yeah, it's hard. It's a really hard game. I'm finding it very hard, but I am always gaining permanent upgrades, so I think I am just going to keep getting stronger and stronger. And I think stuff like the tarot cards or things that you
exactly. It's the equivalent of the mirror from the first game, but it's slightly different in that the tarot cards, you can only activate a certain number of them at once, and they all have a cost to them. So some of the more powerful ones will cost 5, some of the weaker ones will cost 1, and so you have a limited number of. It's called grasp, basically. So on the right hand side of the screen, you see this big hand. It's like Millennium's hand, basically, and you have a limit of how many kind of arcana cards you can have active based on your maximum grasp, and you upgrade your grasp by getting a currency, and you do that, and it basically expands it.
It's one of the many permanent upgrades in this game, and I think that's an area where there are just so many more permanent upgrades and different, not skill trees as such, but it's like things to invest resources into that benefit you more on runs, which is cool. I've been very quick to like get the potion drink things that you gift to people. I've been like, right, get one of those, gift it, get one of those, gift it, and it's given me lots more. I can't remember the things you add on. Keepsakes. So that's good. And then there's the big cauldron in the middle, which is just full of permanent upgrades that you just dump resources into. And there's so much I've done in that's just like, I've done one that now like a mini Charon shop appears every 5th or 6th room or something like that, and it can give me just a bit of health, a bit of armor, a bit of whatever. It's like perfect, and it's really cheap. Like I love that. There's so many things that are just like gradually making me stronger. That yes, I am stuck on Scylla, but like I think I'll get there, you know. Like it's I can't remember how many runs the second boss in Hades 1 took me, for example. Like I think I'm pretty confident this is going to take me more. It's tough.
We can go and check, actually, Bally, because Hades 1 also does the same thing as this, where it has like, it keeps a log of all your runs and how well you've done. At this point in time, you can't check that because you haven't unlocked that yet as part of the Crossroads. But I can go back and I can tell you like what run it was that I got past Scylla, or when I was able to, you know, finish the game for the first time, because it's got every single boon you had, every run categorized, which is one of my favorite things about it in terms of the stat tracking, and like, you know, how many, you know, nights have I done so far in terms of each of the challenges and everything. So it's really great about kind of logging all that stuff together.
And I think the theming is really cool. Like you're in the Crossroads, and I've got questions about her family that I can ask you maybe off mic, but I feel like there's like a picture you can view at the start of everything, and it looks like it's yourself and Zagreus standing over a baby with like Hades in the background.
I think that's just supposed to be Persephone, I want to say.
So Millennium is the baby, right?
Yeah, Millennium is supposed to be the baby. Yes. Yeah, that's what you're supposed to get from that picture, basically.
Okay.
Yeah, exactly.
Interesting. Yes. yeah, it's cool. I think the theming and like Hecate and like you're forming this army that's taking on Kronos and everything, and you kind of hear about what's happening with Olympus, but it's sometimes a bit more vague than other times, and it's developing nicely.
Right.
Like I'm liking it. It's cool.
Yeah, I think that there's a lot of stuff laid down early on. Have you had like there's like a flashback cutscene that happens early on?
Yes.
Where you like play as young Malinois running around the
Yes.
crossroads. Yes. Yeah, stuff like that. I think the start of the game does really well in terms of establishing the tone and the world and what's happening. And it feels quite different in terms of. I think Malinois as a character is quite different. I actually have a question from Declan who says, do you guys notice any big difference between Malinois and Zagreus, or does it feel more of the same? I would say as characters, they feel very different. Zagreus was super lighthearted, very, he has that angsty teenage kind of like rebellion with his dad, but then with everybody else in the House of Hades, he's very much like chill and friends with everybody and hanging out and kind of lighthearted. And yeah, I think he feels like quite friendly and approachable. I'd say Malinois is very polite, but a bit more standoffish in a lot of ways, right?
She's pretty cautious of everyone. Like, I think Hecate's like raised her from very young, but she's still a little bit cautious. And there's characters like Odysseus and who's the lady who stands next to Odysseus? Nemesis, who's very like standoffish with her and things. So yeah, it's
right. Yeah, she's a big meanie.
Big meanie.
Nemesis, who knows? Maybe she becomes a meanie with a heart of gold at some point in time. Who could say? But yeah, there's definitely like a different approach, and I'd say that's mainly because the circumstances they were in. Right, Zagreus was. He had everything at his beck and call. He lived in the underworld. He was the son of, the guy who ran the place. And he just wanted to get out because his dad was keeping him down. So he just wanted to like break out and be rebellious. And, the stakes of Hades 1 is basically your dad is trying to stop you from going to the surface and finding out what's out there. And it's pretty low stakes in terms of that. It's much more about the family drama and what happens and, just the relationships between characters there. This is a lot more serious in that, Kronos, the Titan of Time, has basically taken everybody you love and you've had this foster mother who's looked after you, and it's like a life or death situation, much more than Hades 1 was. So I'd say Malinois' disposition is just in the context of what has happened to her and what has happened with the world, a lot more understandable because, if you're growing up in a place where the stakes are very real and you have not had your family and you have to try and figure out what's happened with them and try and save them and train for it, your training and what you put into it is going to be a lot more serious than what Zagreus was doing, which Zagreus was kind of fucking about at the end of the day, right? Like it wasn't all that crazy. So,
and the ultimate thing about Zagreus was finding out family history that was low stakes in terms of the world, but I guess high stakes for his like personal development,
of course.
But
yeah, and I thought it worked really well. I mean, I really love the Hades 1 story and what they do with it and all the relationship stuff. I think it's extremely well done. But yeah, it does have a different tone here, and I would say that generally speaking, Malinois, it feels that way for most of the game. I mean, she opens up a lot with other characters, and someone else talked about this on a show, but like she's very trusting. She basically takes everything at face value and is like, oh, okay, right, I'm going to do that because you told me that this is what I should be doing and that's the right thing to do, and I'm going to do that. Like she's quite steadfast. She's quite willing to go along with what the gods are telling her when they're kind of chatting about Olympus and talking about Kronos and all this sort of stuff, right? I think she kind of like is like, yeah, that makes sense. I'm going to do that, and that's what will happen. So, I'd say those are the biggest differences in terms of characters.
And we already talked about how mechanically they're different. I definitely think she's a bit more thinky. You need to think a bit more about how you want the build to go and how you're going to use casts, if at all, on that run, that kind of thing.
Yeah, how are you finding the run versus the dash stuff? Because it was a thing that took me a while to get used to, of like, oh, there's not multiple dashes and I have to like the cooldown is quite heavy on the dash, and so you really should just be running the whole time as opposed to dashing.
I think I am struggling on bosses in particular when they warn of a move and then they attack, and it's like, right, while they're warning, I need to get the hell out of there, and
you need to start running, basically.
I need to start running faster than I'm currently doing.
Well, there's that very first mini boss in Erebus in the woods area, which is the kind of spike thing who shoots spikes at you.
Yes.
And it shoots spikes in a circle, and that's basically teaching you
Yes.
run in a circle around it to avoid it, basically.
Yeah, no, totally. And I'm getting better, but that is probably my biggest downfall right now, especially on that skiller fight, is just like, I need to be running a lot more. And I think the most successful run I had against Skiller, I actually had some upgrades that helped speed up like my dashing and my running. And I think I just need to invest in that a bit more. And I'll do better. It's better.
Yeah, absolutely. But yeah, I'd say those are the core things. Is the cast and the run, pretty much. But I would say just in terms of the snappiness of the attacks and the combat generally, I mean, it feels as polished and as good as the original game did. In some ways, more so. There is the other big difference. So you have the mana meter, right? And so that is a thing I was interested to find out from you, because I remember when I first started playing, I was not very good at managing that and having enough to use. And there is a tarot card that you get. I'm not sure you've got it yet.
I do have it now, yeah.
Right, it's the one that automatically regens mana for you.
It does cost 5, which is quite a lot, but it
is expensive, but it's reliable. What I realized when I went into 1.0 and I started watching, I was watching Halion, who's like a content creator around Hades stuff. He's very good. He does a lot of breakdowns of like what you should be doing, what tarot cards to use. Because I was always like, tarot cards, I like them. I think I'm not as good at figuring out like what should be active, what should not, versus the clean.
How do you match what you're going to do with the tarot cards versus what boons you're going to get, and matching those up to make sense? But
totally. So I was quite rigid with the ones I had and just kind of kept them the same for a while. And then much later on, you get the ability to do loadouts for tarot cards. And that's when I was like, right, I'm going to look up what other people are doing with tarot cards. And it did change my perspective a little bit. And it actually made the game easier for me because of a few things that were suggested. And one of the things that was suggested was this 5 cost for regenning mana is not worth it. And the reason is that you can fix that with just one boon every run. And every god has a way of regenerating mana, and it just depends on your build and what's going to work best for it. But it's kind of a waste of 5 tarot points to put into that versus a boon like Origination, which is one you probably don't have yet. Origination is a boon that you do more damage to enemies when they're afflicted by 2 god curses. So that means like Zeus's Blitz or Aphrodite's Weak. If you have your cast doing one of those and your attack doing another, that means whatever enemy is in your cast will be afflicted by both, and that increase in damage that you do from that 5 cost card is crazy good and really turned around like how fast I was killing enemies and how well I was doing in runs later on, basically. So that was a pretty big significant change for me, was looking at the tarots, rearranging them, changing the options for them, all that sort of stuff. And I have really found in the late game that I'm leaning on re-rolling a lot, and like I am far more build crafting in the way of looking up the boons and being like, right, I want to get to this duo boon, I need to get this one and this one to make sure that procs. Oh, I also want the legendary boon, so I need to make sure I have these two. And then
what you're saying, it's already a much brainier game than the first game. Like it's way more about like execution of boons rather than execution of thumbs, you know.
Totally, and I think you could do that with the first game. I just never really felt the desire or need to. Versus Hades 2, where the later parts of this game get fucking hard in a way that if you don't do that, basically, if you don't have a build that will break everything, you're not gonna finish the game. Basically, like there is a level of difficulty here in the back half, and a certain thing you have to do that, you know, regularly you could do fine, but in this certain circumstance you have to really have the perfect, like I could tell by like area 1 it's not good enough, you know, like I know my build is not going to carry me to the end. By that point in time, and it is that early that you can kind of sense it. There's definitely been runs where that has happened and then I've kind of turned it around because some other boons came along and kind of changed things. But
when you have a cast that pushes them out of the cast that's doing damage, that feels bad.
Yeah, that's when you know you really fucked up. But yeah, there is, I would say, the late game kind of stuff here. If you don't have a a build that breaks the game, then you're not gonna be able to finish certain stuff, which I think is cool in some ways, frustrating in others, in that, you know, I think that if you were skilled enough in Hades 1 and you didn't have a fully optimal build, you could still kind of eke it out. Whereas here, I feel like that's not quite the case. It's like you said, much more a understanding of what boons go together and how you can really make them work to break things. And then the execution, there is a lot of execution, especially in the back half, where there's loads of things on screen and dodging is crazy and you have to make sure that you are paying attention to where things are. But if you have a build that is going to carry you through, then you can quickly get through it and not have to worry about that stuff as much. But yeah, it ramps up significantly.
Can you still dash through damage, dash through bullets?
You can, yes. Okay. So it is in a similar way like Patience, because you have to learn enemy patterns in order to know when something is being charged up that you then have to dash through. Because Hades 1, you could just dash immediately because the dash had such a short cooldown. Here, if you've been running and then something starts coming at you, you need to stop running and then dash to start running again through whatever it is, right? So yeah, there is a, yeah, I think it's exactly what we've been saying, which is like, it's a more patient game. It's a game where thought is required a bit more, and you have to kind of like, yeah, you have to corral enemies and blockade them with the cast, and yeah, make sure you're all kind of like, you know, making it all work. But that said, I've still played in a similar-ish way sometimes to Hades 1, where I have a build that is just so quick and destructive that I'm just like bashing through and just smashing things very quickly. So that does happen, and it is very satisfying when it does. So yeah, has been very, very good, I think, overall. Yeah, how have you found the boons so far? Is there any that you're leaning towards? We have a question from Locality, which is, favorite boon type? What Olympian do you prefer based on your playstyle? Also, favorite weapon so far?
Who's the blacksmith dude?
Oh, Hephaestus.
I am liking him a lot. I think both his cast and his like boost to attacks. So what he generally does,
his cast is the one that does 3 hits.
Yeah,
in
boom,
it, right?
boom, 3 hits. What he generally does is he does a lot of damage, but there are timed intervals between that damage. So
yes,
his boost to like your regular attack or special, I think it does like an extra 400 damage or something wild. But then
it's huge. Yeah,
12 seconds to regen. So you might go in on the toughest enemy in the room, boom, hit it hard, and you run away, you start sprinting, you do range attacks, and then Melanoway will glow again when it's ready, and then it's ready again, I'll go to the toughest enemy in the room, boom, and then smash. And like I like that pace, and it has worked nicely for both bosses and rooms. And I think, yeah, the cast is really nice, just a good, right, if you're in the circle, you take lots of damage kind of cast, which is kind of what I'm leaning towards at the moment.
Right, yeah, you can really build up. I've not really done a full cast build yet, because I think there's certain things that really have to come together to make that fully work, and there's certain so you know, there's this whole situation where each boon will apply to certain things. So your attack can only have one attack boon on it, and your special can only have one special boon on it. But then you can amplify them in different ways. So if you want to change an attack boon, you usually get an upgrade for it. So it's like, oh, you got Aphrodite's attack boon instead of Zeus's, but if you want to use this one, it's going to have a higher rarity. So therefore the stats will be a lot better on it and all that sort of stuff. So you can trade up. But you can't have both at once. You can't have Zeus Blitz and Aphrodite Weak on your attack at the same time. No. But you can amplify certain things with different effects. So Demeter, she has her cast that freezes enemies instantly, but then she has a secondary cast effect that is a gust of wind that just does damage and does a bit of cold damage and slows down enemies if they're in it. So you could have let's say a Zeus Blitz cast where it's all lightning, but then you could also have that Demeter Arctic Wind one on it as well.
So
there are certain ones that do stack together versus ones that don't. And yeah, it depends on the god, it depends on the boon, but there are ones that you can then keep doing a lot of stuff to individual things that you have, basically. So yeah. For me, I don't know if I have a favorite Olympian. I mean, I have been kind of like bouncing between all of them. And I would say one of the more impactful ones in terms of some of my better runs has been Hestia. Have you come across Hestia?
Don't think so. Is she the moon person?
No, that's Selene, which is another thing we can talk about as well. It's all separate.
That's quite. She's got a whole skill tree, which is wild.
Right.
Yeah, that's wild.
So Hestia is the fire god. She wasn't in the first game.
Yes, She's the god of the hearth or something, I think.
Yeah, exactly. She has like coals on her head, basically.
Yeah. She's good.
She's really so scorch damage is really good because that's just like. It builds up over time, basically. So you just put it on it and it will just tick away, essentially, in the background. So scorch damage is very, very helpful. So hers are usually quite good to have. Pairing the Umbral Flames, the kind of torch weapon, with her fire stuff is very satisfying to like kind of burn through enemies.
I need to get better with those Umbral Flames. They seem my kind of range attack.
I think you're going to love those, honestly. Like, my quickest run in the game, my best run so far has been with the Umbral Flames, and there's a lot of stuff you can do to amplify it. So so hammers, right? Hammers are kind of the core of what makes a build in Hades 2, where the hammer will significantly change something that your weapon does. So, for example, the other night I won a run where my axe only did the last hit of the axe combo. When I hit the attack button, it was only ever the big hit of the axe combo. Which is kind of crazy because it's quite slow. So building up to that and making it work is difficult. But if you build around it and make if you get Hermes to then reduce the attack speed, suddenly you're doing quick, really heavy attacks at once, that sort of stuff. So you have to kind of think okay, this hammer has totally changed the way I play. How do I find boons to kind of amplify it and make it work in terms of what it does? But with the flames, the Umbral Flames, I just did a run today where so the way it works, you hold down the attack button and you do 2 kind of shots, and then a third one charges up 5 of your magic and does a more powerful shot, basically. That's how the base kind of Umbral Flames works.
And it's like a douche, 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 douche.
Yeah,
like
exactly.
It's on a timer. It just keeps going.
You just keep going, you hold it down, and you just keep shooting, basically. So I got a hammer that reduced the time between bursts, or it basically sped things up so that instead of doing douche, it was douche, basically. So you do 1 and then the blast, and it also reduced the cost of it by 1. So instead of 5 mana, it cost 4 mana. So you're being more mana efficient, and you're doing it quicker. And then I got one that the hammer basically split my projectile in 2 when it would hit an enemy, so it would then go off to hit other enemies. So I was doing very quick blasts, splitting the projectile off to go to other enemies. And then I had Zeus's chain lightning, which is basically if you chain lightning through the thing. So I was chaining lightning through the flames that were then spreading more lightning, and it was the whole screen was just exploding, basically. And when you get to stuff like that is where this game really goes to the next level of wow, I am doing some crazy shit, and it's very satisfying to have all those dominoes fall into place, and you just kind of you go mad with it. So yeah. In terms of the weapons, Bally, has any of them stood out to you as the one you're kind of going towards?
I don't have any favorites yet. In theory, it should be the Umbral Flame, but I have enjoyed the axe. It's like a very slow version of the sword, and its speed is quite annoying. And I have found that I definitely need more AoE kind of moves with it because I'm getting swarmed a bit with the axe more so than the other weapons. But equally, it's probably the best boss killer in terms of getting up close and just doing heavy damage. So yes, it's a balance. I've still got a lot to learn, so I don't have a favorite yet. What about you?
Yeah, It's really weird. I'd say there's like 3 normal-ish weapons and 3 weird weapons in this game. I feel like Hades 1, all the weapons felt relatively balanced. Maybe like the gun was a bit weird. The what was it called? The rail, the adamant rail.
Oh, God,
that one was a
that
little
was a
odd.
gun.
That was the final weapon. The 6th weapon was the adamant rail, and that one I never used as much as the others. But the rest were pretty consistent, and they were pretty like sword, bow, like lance. They were pretty basic.
Yeah.
Here already you start off a little weird because you've got a witch's staff, and obviously it's the magic stuff that's going along with it. The theming of Hecate being a witch and then Melinu being kind of raised as a witch.
That whole like holding it and attacking in front and behind, I feel like takes quite a lot of skill and practice to get good at, like
Yes.
judging enemies in front and behind. But yeah,
Right, because we've not talked about the Omega moves basically,
Yeah.
which are the special, like you hold down a button to charge your magic.
but you can do Omega moves on your regular attack, your special attack, and on the cast, which is wild.
Yes, exactly. So yeah, if you hold down any of those 3 buttons, you then charge up some magic and you blast out a different move, and I think that adds quite a level of depth as well to what you're building towards and what you're using. I have generally found my most successful runs are when I only focus on one type of attack. So either regular attack, regular special, or Omega attack, Omega special, and cast less so. Cast I usually use as a supporting thing to help get to that thing that I'm going towards. But that's what I would recommend is like, if you want to get better, just dive into one of those as opposed to trying to split your boons between your attack and your special, because then you're just focusing on one button and one purpose, and you're just building on top of that fully, which then generates much more damage and much more output from just that singular thing. So yeah, but those, or every weapon has one of those, which is totally different. I think so I won't spoil it. The 6th weapon is probably my favorite overall. It's very cool and weird, and the first run after early access that I beat the game was with that weapon, and that was extremely satisfying because I had an insane build which was just melting everything, and that worked supremely well. I like the daggers a lot in the early game. So when I was the first time I beat the final boss was with the daggers, and there's a really broken thing you can do with it, which is backstab damage. And if you start stacking stuff to do backstab damage, that is where that does loads and loads and loads, and that can really turn the tides in your favor.
How do you get behind enemies though? Like, it just seems...
Well, so the special on the dagger throws it through and then it comes back to you like a boomerang.
Of course.
So when you throw it through and it comes back, it will automatically come back through their back. But there's a bunch of other hammers you can get that does weird stuff that then lets you do an insane build that does crazy backstab damage, basically.
Right.
So yeah, that one was very, very good. And yeah, I like the Witch's Staff a lot. I think Flames. So the interesting thing about Umbral Flames, in early access, Umbral Flames sucked. They were easily the worst weapon, and I never used them. And I just didn't enjoy what they were doing. They have gone through like 3 or 4 changes in early access, because I remember in update 1, because I came back and I played like a few hours of update 1 when that happened, and the Flames were definitely getting there, but they weren't quite there. And so every iteration of the Flames that I've played from early access to the first update to now, they've all been completely different in terms of the way that the weapon works, which is very weird. So when I first started using the Flames, I was like, oh wow, they changed it again. This is not how I remember it working. So but yeah, those are really, really powerful, and yeah, they can really melt stuff very quickly. If you get the right build going with them, they are crazy powerful. So yeah, big fan of those. You were talking about Selene, Bally, because that is something we haven't quite covered yet. How do you feel about that and how that works, and have you used it much yet?
Oh, I thought you were going to reference the question on who's the hottest character, because I think she's...
Oh, I mean, we can tie that into this. If you think Selene is the hottest character, then that might be something to talk about. But yeah,
she's not wearing very much, but I mean, she's wearing a lot more than Aphrodite, so you got to give her credit for that.
Aphrodite wears literally nothing.
Yeah.
But yeah, we have a question from Tim, who says the most important Hades question of all: who is the hottest character this time around? So Bally, apparently Selene maybe is up your street. Who could say?
Without being too ageist, I feel like there's a lot more older characters so far, at least in the early game. So as much as older people can still be very attractive, I'm just saying, like, I feel like Hades 1 threw a lot more of the younger, just like hot bods right in your face.
That's true. That's true.
Yeah.
And they have like redone all the artwork for all the returning gods as well.
Yes, which is cool.
In this game.
Very cool.
That's nice.
I would say, for me personally so far, Moon God, whose name I've forgotten, Selene,
yes.
And probably Millennium. She's got it. She's got
a
lot going for her. She's got a lot going for her.
Millennium is very, very good. Mine are probably spoilers. I would probably say I can't say what mine is because then I just realised that will spoil a thing for you.
In the spoiler discussion. There's this hot ear waiting later on.
There's a lot more NPCs in this game, like mid-run NPCs, right? So like in the first game, you had fucking what's his name, Sisyphus and Baldy, right? And they were there and they were fun.
So far, I've got like the spider and
Arachne,
and the very vain.
Narcissus, of course.
Narcissus. In the second area, those are the two I've got so far.
So there are significantly more in this game of those characters, and I one of those, let's say, who's in an area.
I tell you, someone who's been rumored who's going to come, I'm assuming, and whose boons I loved in the first game is Ares, the god of war.
Oh,
Ares? It is Ares, right?
It is Ares, yeah. He's the god of war.
Because he had like the spinning blades, so anything that I could do to get spinning blades, I always did in the first game.
Yeah, that's true. You might be disappointed that there are no spinning blades with Ares this time. He's quite different in terms of his boons, but he's still good. I think Ares is very interesting.
Do you think they thought he was a bit broken, those spinning blades? Because they were
I think so.
Very good.
Yeah, they really did make things quite easy sometimes. There was that certain build where you made your casts automatically home in as spinning blades. That was the one where I was like, this is this might be too much. I remember doing that build and that was crazy.
My favorite build in the first game was the casts with Demeter's. She had like honing lasers that came out of the casts, and it just turned it into a tower defense game. It was so satisfying.
Yeah, for sure. I don't know, other characters, hot characters in the game. I don't know, they all look good, I think. I think they're all they're pretty spiffing out there.
Hecate's abs.
Hecate's abs are insane, dude. Those are crazy. That shit is insane. She's been in the gym all day, every day, never leaves. That is she's definitely doing push-ups. I think Nemesis, she's definitely like buff build, but I think Nemesis is pretty cool. Again, there's a lot that I could say, but they're all spoilers, unfortunately, so I can't say them.
I'm looking forward to all these spoilery.
The real hot characters are spoilers. That's it. Yeah.
Love it.
But people know out there. They know. They're all sickos. But yeah, I don't know. I've never really felt that way about the Hades characters. Generally speaking, I think they're all really well designed and like they all look really cool. But yeah, I don't know. Maybe I'm doing a bit of a Dan Reichert here. But I don't know. When everyone was like super horny over the Hades characters, I was like, okay, cool. That's cool. Yeah. They're nice. They're really well drawn. I think Gen Z's art is like staggeringly good. Like the art design and all that stuff is incredible. But yeah, I don't know, I like them all. I think they're all very well designed characters and they're cool. I like the big ghost man who sells you stuff at the crossroads. He's fun.
Charon.
There's Charon, but there's also, have you got the broker at the crossroads who gives you stuff for like you give him stuff and you can buy things from him, you can buy nectar from him and stuff. Do you not have that yet? Maybe that's not.
Oh, you send away for it and it takes time to come.
Yeah, there's that, but then there's also him. There's like the ghost guy who sells stuff to you.
Don't think I have him yet. No.
Okay, you don't have him yet. No. Okay, but yeah, you'll get him. I guess Moros as well. Moros is in the crossroads. Has he showed up for you?
I can't remember.
Okay, you don't know any names. This is a problem with Bally. I'll say some name you don't know. He's the guy who looks like Deathly, basically. He's like a death guy. He stands next to the fated list of minor prophecies.
Oh no, I don't have him yet. No.
Oh, okay. All right. So he's to come as well. You'll see him. He's very. He's godly in a way that he's envisioned. So, I think that probably covers that. Some other questions we have here. The age-old question with most sequels is from Super Responsible Leaf. If I missed the first Hades, would you recommend going straight into Hades 2 or first playing the original? It's an interesting question because I think mechanically and all that sort of stuff, you can jump in no problem and you'll have a fine time and you'll kind of understand it. I do think that Hades 2 is harder, generally speaking, than Hades 1, so it might prep you better if you want to play that first to kind of get you into it. I do think it's worth playing just from a narrative perspective, Hades 1. I think it just really sets things up very nicely. And I do think there are a lot of moments in Hades 2 that only hit as hard as they do if you've played Hades 1. So I think that's where I come down on it, as like, okay, yes, you'll still have a good time, but I don't think the impact of story stuff or like certain areas or moments will hit as hard if you've not played the first game, because it sets up a lot of... It's built on the bones of it, right? I mean, the very idea that Melanoi is the daughter and she's Zagreus' brother, it's like, if you know Zagreus and you have that history with that character in Hades and what they went through in the first game, then I think it says a lot for what you can expect with this one. So I would still recommend playing Hades 1 before Hades 2. Obviously, it's a big time commitment, so if you don't have time and you don't really care, I don't think it will ruin your enjoyment. I don't think it'll be that much worse, but I think you will get a lot more out of it and will feel more fulfilled if you've played Hades 1 before Hades 2. I don't know if you think the same, Bally.
Yeah, I agree. I can already tell the story is building a bit in a way that will definitely overlap in some ways, and I also just think the sheer number of systems in Hades 2 versus 1, if you don't already understand the concept of run-based gaming and roguelikes and, you know, Zagreus dies, comes back, you do another run, if you're kind of getting used to how that all works and the boons and stuff, I do think Hades 2, even out the gate, has so many extra collectibles and systems that you don't really have to be on top of, but it's quite nice to be on top of them. I think that playing the first game first would make you feel a lot less overwhelmed by the second game, because I do think it throws a lot at you quite early on, even in the first 5 hours.
There's a lot of resources as well, and I think this is something that some people have been complaining about. I don't really mind it that much, because, you know, I think one of the nice things about it is it basically... you always have something to invest in, right? Like
it automates it all for you, more or less. Like the game's very
pretty
soft
much.
at like... It'll point out where a thing to collect is in the when you're out on a run.
Right, you clear a room and it'll be like, by the way, don't forget to pick this up, which is very nice.
Sometimes it might not even let you progress until you've picked up.
Right,
So I think that combined with... And then when you get back to the crossroads, you just have to check like 3 different areas to see, can I invest in this? Can I invest in that? Can I invest? Okay, right, fine, whatever. And it'll tell you what you still need, that sort of thing. So it's you don't have to keep on top of it, I think, but if you're super keen, you can if you want.
Yeah, I think so. And one of the things that, you know, through early access they kind of smoothed out was, so originally you could only interact with resources that you had the tool for in a certain run. So if you brought the pickaxe with you, you could only do rock-based things. You couldn't pick up, you couldn't dig things up, you couldn't fish, you couldn't do any of that. You had to only use the sickle to do it, and that was a thing that I think people found quite grindy, and they changed that so that if you have the tool equipped, then it changed it into you could get more of it, but you could still get like other stuff as well. I think in 1.0 you don't even have to equip the tool at all. That's all just automatic, basically. So they very much streamlined it from the beginning, where it got really grindy at the start in terms of just getting all the resources that you needed to progress certain things. But like you said, like you go to that cauldron and there's like 30 recipes already, and it's like, wow, I just have... Every run you come back is like, new recipe, can I invest this, can I do this?
And those are all for permanent upgrades that you don't even have to fiddle with once they're bought. They just do a thing in the world, and that's cool.
Yes.
And will make your run better. And you just
right. It's like, do you want a room that is just sometimes a fountain halfway through an area? Great, there you go. Sometimes you'll come across that, and then you'll just get a free item, and you just get to heal yourself, which is very nice. That sort of thing being implemented, like you said, with the shopping fountains, which I kind of forgotten from the first game. I think you kind of had to unlock those in the first game as well. But I was like, when I first started playing Hades 2, I was like, oh shit, we don't have those. But then it's an unlock that you get from the cauldron from kind of doing your magic and investing all those things. My favorite, have you had any spells that she said out loud yet that you've liked? Because there's lots of like so mote it be is like the phrase that they say quite often when she's like mixing stuff in the cauldron.
I can't remember. Yeah, okay.
Yeah, she Katuskion Uski is one that she says quite a lot that I like. Is
that like the number 1 Patreon subscriber or something?
Yeah, probably. Yeah, it's. I think it's very fun, the magical spells that get said. My favorite made up phrases this year are from Silksong and from Hades 2. In Hades 2, Katuskion Uski. In Silksong, Najina Fora. No, Gina Fora. That's what Horner always says that when she's talking to somebody. So those are my two favorite made-up phrases from this year that just stick in my head for some goddamn reason.
I like that in Silksong, the guy charging on the thing on his steed who helps you out. I can't even remember.
Garmin and Zaza.
Yeah, but he says something like, it sounds like he's about to say a word but doesn't finish on that word.
Right.
This is a very bad story, but yeah, I'll find it at some point.
Like you tried. Yeah. So anyway, I like made up magical and made up languages. It's great. It's good fun. Cool. We have a question from Matraya. Probably one for NBZ with his hours in early access, but curious to hear Bally's thoughts too. Supergiant said their goal was to make a sequel feel as fresh as a new title. Do you think they succeeded in this? What do you think, Bally?
You can't get past how fresh doing the runs combined with the new boons, like even that concept first time around with Hades 1, I think is unrivaled. But I think
the narrative side as well of like, even if you failed, you still had progress of characters and things you could do.
Yes, for sure. And I think that whole concept hits harder with the first game. I think it's almost always the first game just has more impact. However, I think even early on in the game, that like I'm very impressed by how they've mixed up the narratives, the progression things that you are investing in, and crucially the boons. Like, they feel very different, very fresh, and that's partially because of the different moveset, the different ways the specials work and different ways that the cast works, combined with the ways that boons are just different. And there's even new gods. Like, it's not just here's the same gods but just with different boons. It's like a mixture of some new gods, some old gods, and that feels very fresh. Does it feel as fresh as the first game? No, but they came damn close, I think.
Yeah, I want to ask you this question again in like 10 hours time and see if your answer changes. For me, speaking from my experience last year, I would say yes, to the degree that I just had so many surprises with this game, so many fun, interesting, cool things that were happening that I was like, as a fan of the first game, this is really hitting in like a significant way. And again, similar to what you were saying, Bally, I think it's impossible to be as fresh as that first game, just because it was brand new out of nowhere, like a lightning bolt. It was like, look at this thing that no one has ever done before.
I think we have that opinion of almost every sequel versus
I think that's true.
First game, almost.
And I think it is impossible to do that. Maybe, I don't know, maybe Silksong's different, but then I think we're just Silksong, like we said, we're Silksong people. We weren't Holiday people, we're Silksong people.
We're made of silk.
Yeah, exactly. That's us. We're threads in the weave. I do think that they succeeded in freshness on a lot of different levels, where character-wise, all the new cast I really like. I think the structure of the game and the way that it's all put together, the additional stuff, like there are so many mechanics that I can't talk to you about, Bally, because there are like, they've added so much stuff from that perspective that is really cool and interesting and has like built the game in a way where I can see myself playing it for 250 hours, honestly. Like, it is so rich with stuff so I rolled credits on it literally like 20 minutes before we started recording this show. And I am just excited to get back and do the epilogue stuff now, because there is a significant thing that has to be done in the epilogue that it's been a thing that's been on my list since like near the beginning of the game. And I'm like, when am I going to get to do that? And it's like, oh, beat the game first, then it's an epilogue thing you have to do, basically. So there's a huge thing with that, I imagine, as well as like there's all these other ways of interacting with the game that I'm looking forward to diving into and going with now that I've done that. And I can, there's a bunch of stuff to upgrade that I'm waiting to do, and like resources I still need to get, and a whole storyline with certain characters, and there's a bunch of like more relationships. I haven't maxed out any of the relationships so far. So like there is tons and tons and tons of stuff, even when the game is beaten, quote unquote. And that is exciting to me, and I want to keep going, and I will keep playing it. I think my goal, like with playing 1.0, was okay, let's get to the end as soon as I can and just kind of focus down on that as my main thing and kind of leave the other stuff until later. And now that I've done that, now I can go back and just start doing everything else, and treating it a lot more like I did Hades 1, which was every day after work do a run. And listen to a podcast, do a run at the same time, and that is like peak gaming for me. So I'm very, very much looking forward to, playing Ghost of Yote is my main thing, and then having this as like every day do one run basically to like slowly chip away at everything.
How long does a successful run take? 35 minutes to 40 minutes?
So it's weird because the way that they track time in the game is different to real time. My fastest run in game time has been 18 minutes, and my first run I think was 35. So you really get a lot quicker.
But you don't think it's not counting the downtime?
It's not counting downtime, no. So it doesn't...
That'll be for like speed run reasons, I guess.
Yes, exactly. So they do it that way. But I say I usually take between 45 minutes and an hour if you count the doing the stuff in the base after. So basically the way that I play Hades is I do a run, then I clear out all my base stuff, and then I go into the area with Skelly and all the stuff, and then I close the game. So I basically clear out all the stuff so that when I start afresh, I just go straight into a run. So doing all of that stuff is usually about 45 minutes, I would say, to just complete it all. But at this point I'm doing runs pretty quickly because by the time you get all the meta progression and all the Arcana cards, like I've got maximum grasp and I have the loadouts as well, so I can switch between those very quickly. I have a thing which lets me automate what my first keepsake is, so I don't need to go change that every time if I want to. If I have a consistent keepsake I use at the start of every run, I can just leave that and not worry about it. Then I have the difficulty modifier area as well, where I can just up all the difficulty to get certain resources that I need to upgrade my weapons. And there's so much. This game is huge in terms of the amount that you can do, and I think that if I had played this from 1.0 without doing early access, I probably would have beaten it in around 40 hours, I would say. But obviously I played 36 hours of early access, and I played a subsequent 26 or whatever, 36 to 61 hours, right? So almost another 30. I played like 25 or so, and that was just so. My first run in 1.0, I got to the end and I beat the boss, right? So 25 hours from getting your first win to getting to the 10 end of the game, basically, whatever it is, however many runs it was. Because there was a lot of dying in there as well. I didn't do it all the way through because there was some hurdles to get over, some significant hurdles to get over to get there. But which means for you, Bally, I would estimate 50 hours, I would say, to get to the end.
Oh boy.
Boy. There's a lot of Hades 2 to be playing, but it's really, really good the whole way through. And I really feel like they've nailed it again. They've really killed it. Which I guess ties into our final question from Hey Raf Bally. Is Supergiant the best indie team ever?
They've got a lot going for them. I think one thing in particular that I think is really cool about them, and I don't think it's the case for the vast majority of indie studios we talk about, is that they do all their music in-house. I think that is really
we haven't talked about music. Holy shit. How can we have not talked about the music of this game? I mean, Scylla is like that one moment, right?
The boss fight music is, it is top. I mean, to explain how strong this song is, I did not play Hades 2 in early access, but I was already aware of this song because it did the rounds online last year, and I cottoned onto it, and it's a very good rock song, and I love it. So that is definitely a very good thing about the game is the music. Yeah. And are they the best indie team ever? Have you heard of a team called Team Cherry? They're pretty. We'll
talk about that. We'll talk about them in a minute. I do think one thing that is pretty significant about Supergiant is I would argue that more people than usual know the name of individual members of the team than a lot of other indie studios, right? Like, people could say Darren Korb is the composer.
Yes.
People know Logan Cunningham is the voice actor. People know that Greg and Amir are the studio heads. People know that Gen Z is the artist, right? Like, all these names are known to people, as opposed to Supergiant as an entity. The individuals are significant enough and have made an impact enough on the wider culture and what has happened. And part of that, I would say, is down to the work that Danny O'Dwyer did at NoClip with the documentary for Hades 1, which I still recommend people watch. It's fantastic to see all that stuff happen and how they kind of got to this moment. But I would say like the big kind of leads at Supergiant are names that people actually know. So I think that that's quite nice, actually, and it's quite different from a lot of the industry where either it's like solo developers who are super famous, or it is an auteur like Kojima or like Neil Druckmann or someone who is like the head of the studio, but you don't know the name of anyone else at the studio.
Yeah.
And so Supergiant, there's no one person who you're like, oh, that's the person from Supergiant. It's like at least 5 or 6 like key individuals who are like the heads. Ashley, I can't remember her second name, but she's the singer, right? Who sings all the songs as well. So like they as a team, they have stuck together since the beginning, and all those core members have been there since the start. And I think that's pretty significant when it comes to indie teams.
And I think unlike famously Expedition 33 this year, it wasn't a case of they just put together this incredible game and it just happened, and there was a hell of a lot of luck with what happened with Expedition 33, and they kind of, their backgrounds were not very video gamey in comparison, and they just hit. That's a whole story unto itself, just what they did with that game. It was ridiculous. Supergiant have built brick by brick, game on game, improving, and they've gotten, it's not an accident they got to the point of Hades 1 and Hades 2.
No.
Like, it was very methodical, and they've made decisions along the way to get to that point, and they knew exactly what they wanted to create, and they created it so impeccably well, and early access helped with that, and then they got feedback, and the documentary does a good job of talking you through that like feedback routine, and the meetings they would have almost like on a weekly basis about like what's working, what's not working, how do we change it, how do we improve it. And it's how often are you in your workplace and you think, I've just done something really frustrating and stupid, how do we make sure it's not like that next time? And how often do we just move on with the next job in our work, and we don't actually reevaluate and say, okay, well, we can do this thing, and work with this person to make this better and do this form. Anyway, my point is, like, they are so good, seemingly from the outside, at self-improvement and working through things in a way that I think is very impressive and deserves a lot of respect. And I think, it's very impressive in this industry. And
for sure. And it's proof once again that, like, hey, if you keep people together for a long period of time, they will make better things over time, and that's how you get better games, not by laying off people who have worked together, and therefore you then lose all that talent, all that knowledge, all that team cohesion that creates great games, right? So,
I mean,
and
what on earth are they going to do next? It's wild.
It's crazy. Which, of course, they've just shipped a game and already people are like, well, what's that next game going to be? But I think that's natural. I am excited to see, because obviously, this is the first sequel that they've done. They always do standalone, different universes, different games. And so it made sense, obviously, for them to return to Hades because it was so successful and there was a lot more that they could do with it in the universe. And I think they've really knocked it out of the park, and have made something just equally as good as the first game, which is an almost impossible task, I would say. So, shout outs to them for really smashing it with Hades 2, which we will talk more about, I'm sure, as Bally gets further into it. And we can talk about some of the other things that happen in Hades 2 that make it quite different, which I think is going to be fun. But that is going to be us for this part of the show. Don't go anywhere. We'll be back right after the break to talk about Hollow Knight Silksong in spoilery detail. See you in a bit.
Unseen, hidden in the wild wood, sheltered by the dark, the Silver Sisters await. The moon marks her passage silently, watching with the eye of night above us all, hiding in plain sight, keeper of the night. Moonlight, guide us home tonight in
All right, everybody, welcome back to the second part of today's show. If you have not finished Hollow Knight Silksong to the first credits, that is what people would call the bad ending, the regular ending, the normal ending, the end of Act 2, you could say, then turn away now and come back later, or listen to it if you don't care at all, which some people don't. Which I've always been interested in that. Who listens to a spoiler cast for a game that they've not played and are not interested in playing, but still want to listen to it? That's a curious person in my brain, you know? And I think it might be me, if I'm honest. Sometimes I do that.
I think we're that kind of person who has a weird compulsion. If we're subscribed to a podcast, we have to listen to everything.
You have to finish the podcast? Yeah, for sure. Although I do tend to, even the thing is, even if it's a game I'm not that interested. So, okay, for example, the Easy Allies spoiler cast on The Last Guardian, I still have in my podcast queue from like 10 years ago, because I'm like, well, one day I might play The Last Guardian. So I'm going to keep that around just in case. Yeah. I don't think I ever will, but we'll. Yeah, you know, it's still there for me to listen to in case of emergency. So maybe you're that person as well. But anyway, we're here to talk about the end of Hollow Knight Silksong, which I finished fully. Bally has finished partially fully. So the way this game is structured, right, is in acts. And you were messaging me a bunch when we were playing Hollow Knight Silksong, and you're like, man, I want to, you know, Act 2, how long is Act 2? I wonder what Act 3, all this sort of stuff. And then you finish the game just like, well, there was only 2 acts. What happened there? That was weird. And turns out Silksong is hiding Act 3 behind a lot of stuff. A lot of stuff you got to go do to unlock Act 3 in the first place. And then Act 3 is its own thing that takes like probably another 15 hours or so in terms of playtime. So there's a lot going on there. We will not talk about the Act 3 stuff. I will save that for another conversation. But Bally, talk to me about Hollow Knight Silksong. How do you feel having finished it, having beaten that final boss, and having gone through the whole thing?
38 hours it took me. Yeah, that game is tough. It is tough. It is not 9 Souls tough. I stand by that. And I'm obviously just talking about the main game. I think that sounds like some of the end game is getting closer to 9 Souls.
Yeah, you ever heard of a guy called Grohl the Great in Bilewater? You might want to revise your opinion once you fight him. But aside from that, you know, I think you're generally on the money when it comes to it.
I'm just so impressed by how good this game feels, how amazing it is musically and visually, and how nice the writing is, and like the chirps, the voice acting, the kind of
Nagina Fora.
Yeah, exactly. And just like the towns, and it's got a real traditional Zelda feel to it. And I think one thing that I've just been so impressed by is how unique quests feel, and little things like that just like, and it's not so much what you're doing on the quests, which arguably in some cases can be a little bit samey. Some of them are a little bit fetch quest, go get this, go get that.
Yeah, I know you don't listen to Waypoint Radio anymore, but Patrick Klepek was kind of talking about it on this week's show, and he was saying how the one part of the game that really did disappoint him were the quests, because there are a lot of fetch quest style things in terms of go kill these and collect these things, basically, like that type of thing, which I can kind of see where he's coming from with that. But I think for me, with those quests especially, I always liked them just from a sense of, well, I'm passively getting stuff from doing it at the same time. So like I get some rosaries by killing these guys again, which I do need to go and buy stuff that I want, and like I am getting more shards, which in the back half of the game, oh boy, do you need to use your tools a lot. So having shards is actually really valuable. So I totally get that angle and where it's coming from, but I didn't mind them. And part of it is also, like you said, I just like playing the game. It feels good to move around the world and to do stuff and to explore. So I wasn't against the type of side quest that it had, really. So,
but I think the strongest part of the side quests, and this is a huge issue that we both have with Tears of the Kingdom especially, but also Breath of the Wild, is the rewards for those quests. Like there's
they're significant,
so many different innovative rewards, often tools, often other health bonuses. You've got like your tools, which are red, and then your blue items and your yellow items. There's just so much to get in this game. I've only got a fraction of it, and I just think the variety is so well done. There's just more and more and more in this game, and I was just right up till the end so impressed by it all. If I had more time, genuinely, and I wasn't playing Hades 2 and Ghost of Yotei and Metroid Prime around the corner, like I would be getting up to 60 hours and trying to get that end of the act 3 because it's a special game. It deserves its place on that top tier of TNL favorite Metroidvanias alongside Ori and Dread. For me, it's definitely up there. I was blown away, very impressed.
Yeah. So I guess now we can talk spoilers. Bosses are a pretty big part of this game, and specific bosses and things that they do. Do you have one that stands out to you as like a favorite, either in like from a narrative sense or from a combat sense? Like, what were the ones that really hit for you?
My favorite to fight was probably the final boss, actually. I just think it was
really interesting.
Really satisfying. So I played almost all of the games since I got it with the Reaper crest, and the Reaper crest is very good at spacing and long range hitting while also being quite tankish. You could have two items for each type of items. You could have 6 items, which was quite a lot compared to other crests. And I think
so you could have 2 tools at once, basically.
2 tools, exactly. So I think the downside of that crest meant on a lot of these bosses that would die and have windows open where you could get loads of hits in, I was much weaker at. But the actual fighting in between and getting hits in, I was much better at. And I think that like my fighting style really suited the final boss, and as a result I found I really struggled against the bosses that were more similar size to me. So
the quick fights like Lace,
and Widow, like that, those 2 fights were very tough for me. But equally I found the last judge very simple in comparison. Like, not simple. I found it less hard than the other ones. So if I do go on to play more of this game, I definitely want to reassess. I want to try using the Wanderer like you did, MBZ, because I think I just need to get a bit better using that and fighting bosses that then have these windows where you can just do loads of damage. So those are my favorite, but I did like the Lace fight. Yeah,
because there is often times with bosses where they go into a stun state and you get free hits in.
Exactly.
With Wanderer's Crest, you can just fucking spam and get so many goddamn hits in when they are down. I could get like 6 or 7 hits on a boss when it was in a stun state.
Which makes the next phase so much shorter, you know? Like
exactly,
it makes a big difference, for sure.
Yeah, for sure. Something I never actually knew was... I was using the cog flies a bunch. Did you ever get the cog flies as a tool to use?
Not yet, but it's like the first thing I'm going to do when I pick that game up again is go and get them and then add the poison to them.
Right, yeah, poison cog flies, holy shit. It doesn't break the game. It makes it's really very, very helpful as a thing to use. But there were certain bosses where either a phase change would happen or something like that, or they would, the first time they come down, and you can cheekily get a hit in sometimes before their name comes up, that sort of thing. And sometimes I would pop the cog flies before they came in, and the cog flies during the animation would be attacking them, and I never knew. It's like, am I doing damage while this animation is happening and like the boss can't do anything? Like I was always confused as to whether that was actually helping me or not. I don't know the answer, but I always tried to cheese it in some kind of way because these bosses are difficult and you kind of want every advantage.
And I definitely, so the 3 toughest bosses I found in the whole game were the final boss, Lace. I think Lace is the toughest boss in the game for me. The second fight, obviously.
Second time you fight Lace. Yeah.
And the kill room in the northwest of the Citadel. Throne room or something. Can't remember what it's called.
It's the one before you get one of the melodies at the very end, right?
Yeah. I found I think I spent close to 3 hours on each of them. Like, it was really tough. And I think the final boss was the easiest out of those 3 by a long way.
Wait, you still spent 3 hours on the final boss?
Less on the final boss. I think I was closer to 2. But I think it was that point where I was like, right, tools are important. The final phase of these bosses, I just need to go mad with the tools. And because I was Reaper, I obviously had more tools. So I was using like the arcing dart that does like a little arc. And then I also when I was struggling in the throne room, I went back and got some spikes and then completed the poison quest to get the poison spikes and then used the poison spikes. These are the spikes that like suspend themselves in the air. It's not like the spikes along the ground.
Not the tacks on the ground.
The tacks on the ground, yeah.
Well, and you wouldn't have been able to get the tacks on the ground because you've not been to Sinner's Road, which is where you get the tacks on the ground.
So there's loads of areas I'm missing. But yeah, I went and got those tools specifically to fight the final phase of that room, which is just 11 rounds of fighting, and you fight 2 like mini big mini bosses next to each other, which is just a pain in the bum. And I did it all.
Sucks so much.
Like you, I beat the main game without the double jump. So
right, yeah.
But I got there in the end. So yeah, and likewise with Lace on the final phase, I just went tool crazy and eventually got there. And then again, I think the main game final boss only has 2 phases. Maybe it's 3. I can't remember, but
it has 2 phases.
2 phases. Second phase, final phase. Just again went tool crazy and got that extra poison damage in, but got there in the end.
Yeah. So those are the hardest ones. So your favorite to fight, would it be? No, you said the final boss was your
still
favorite.
The final boss. Yeah. Third hardest boss, I'd say, for me in the game.
Okay.
Maybe fourth. I think Trobio I might have found harder, genuinely.
Trobio. Yeah, Trobio is a piece of shit. He's fun, but very tricky.
Again, another boss that's your size. I just really struggled with those. So,
right.
Yeah. Trobio.
It's because he just throws a bunch of shit and it's kind of random, like where things land and that sort of stuff.
God, yeah.
But there's if you don't like Trobio, there's another boss later that you'll have a similar situation.
I genuinely also found, I think with all these bosses, I came so damn close to beating them loads of times. I think I was genuinely quite unlucky a few times of like, I could have beaten this half an hour ago, 45 minutes ago.
Right, but if you just like messed up at the very end and you didn't get the last couple of hits in, basically.
Yeah, and it was just arrogance, it was impatience, it was like you have to be so strict. Even more so than 9 Souls, you have to be strict in some cases. Like
Silksong does this thing where you think you're at the end of a boss fight and you actually have 12 more hits to do, but it feels like you only have 1 more hit to do because of how long it's gone on for. And it's like the game knows, like, these Team Cherry are laughing because they realize that you think this should be the end of the fight. You've done so many fucking hits on this last phase and you should be there, but you still have at least 10 more hits to go before you do it. And there is a persistence, there is a like patience, a just like don't fuck up, because there is that tendency in boss fights, like we've talked about before, of like seeing the boss health low to be, well, I'm just gonna fucking greedy at the end and try and kill it quickly. And that's the thing about Silksong, is like you can almost feel that happening even though you can't see the health bar.
Totally.
But you just got to be patient. You got to be patient the whole time. Just never go for greed.
Get all your tools out and be modest. Just get all the
exactly.
tools out and be modest in that final phase. Just like hit my tools. I'm not gonna play any differently other than getting my tools out. Let's go.
Yep. And then just like be patient and hit it when you've been hitting it, and don't go overboard. And that's the key to victory in Silksong. In terms of base game bosses, for me, I think that kill room is the hardest. I think that is the hardest thing in up to Act 2 of the game. I would say it's still top 3 hardest things in the game.
Wow, that is wild.
Yeah, the other 2 hardest things were 2 bosses in Act 3 for me. One of which I already referenced, fucking Grohl and the fucking Bile Water. I think that's the worst boss in the game, just from it's not very fun perspective, because I thought
you could do it in Act 2. Can't you?
You can. You technically can do Grohl in Act 2. I did it in Act 3, but not Act 3. So I did it after I beat the game before Act 3, because you have to do it to get to Act 3, basically. So I guess technically Act 2 is that one, and the kill room are both the ones that I found the hardest. And then there is an Act 3 boss that is the hardest individual boss in the game, I think. That took me 2.5 hours, I think, which is the longest I spent on an individual boss, I want to say. So that one...
This is what makes me want to try Wanderer. I just think I might have had an easier time with some of these, because our lengths of time we spent on bosses in 9 Souls was so much similar compared to Silksong.
The true final boss of the final end game, Bally, took me about an hour, basically. So, and I think part of it was I had maximum pin upgrades by the time I got there. And you only have 2 upgrades. You can do... you can actually. You can technically, before you do the Act 2 final boss, you can get that 3rd one, but it is such a... You have to do a lot of extra side stuff in order to get it, and that will take you around to do those harder bosses anyway. So you still have to do those harder bosses with just 2 upgrades for the most part, which is very, very challenging. But yeah, that kill room sucks. I think the worst part about Silksong that I think you've not really encountered, because there's none of this in the stuff you've done, is bosses where you have to do waves of enemies before the bosses. And the two bosses that I think are the worst both have waves of enemies before you then fight the boss.
That is an odd decision.
It is an odd decision.
It's tough.
and it's really fucking bad. I really dislike it because. So eventually you get to the point where it's trivial and you can just get rid of them very quickly.
Yeah.
But it's an unnecessary build-up. It's kind of, so a lot of people complain about the runbacks. I don't complain about the runbacks because I think they're kind of like fun to do. I think this for me is my runback. Like having waves of enemies before a boss, I think is the worst design decision they made in this game, basically, because the bosses on their own are fucking hard enough, right? Like they're already really difficult. Like the Act 3 boss has 3 phases and waves of enemies before it. It is fucking bullshit.
God,
and
yeah.
that one is really, really challenging on your dexterity and making sure you're quick and understanding stuff in it, really.
But like, let's say I had to do waves of enemies before Lace. That was my longest boss fight in the game by a mile, at least 3 hours. If I'm spending 3 hours just on Lace and I'm starting on phase 1, if that boss fight had pre-phases, like waves of enemies beforehand, I'd be looking at 4 or 5 hours easily. Like,
at least,
to that boss. I think the game there's so many trolls. I think one trolling thing it does, especially with that really hard waves of enemies room that we were talking about in the northwest of the Citadel, is that almost every other kill room up to that point is like 5 or 6 phases, and occasionally the sixth phase is like a mini boss, and a mini boss different to what you're talking about, like a proper boss. This is like a mini boss, like a really big fat enemy that's got a few more hit points, for example. And the same is the case here, but then you defeat that mini boss and you think, okay, right, what's happening? There's more waves of enemies until you do another wave and another wave. You do 5 more waves, and then the same mini boss that you defeat comes back, and then his twin brother joins the fight, and you're like, are you kidding me? Like, it was such like a shocking moment, and that's not like an extra part of the game, that's part of the main game,
right? That's where I don't understand how Team Cherry expects most people to get through this, if that's a core, like that's a main part thing you have to do, basically. But I think like that is probably the most criticism I will level at Silksong, basically, because everything aside from that, I think is close to perfect. Like, I think this game is genuinely remarkable, just in its construction, its world design. I remember early on playing it and thinking, oh, I don't know if this stuff will be as memorable as the first Hollow Knight for people, just because I'm going through these areas quite quickly, and I'm just seeing them briefly and then kind of moving on, because it's quite linear at the beginning. By the end of the game, I think this might be my favorite map in any Metroidvania I've ever played. It is so memorable.
Constantly going back and poking at holes, yeah.
And you are retraversing it all the time. And the way the fast travel works is that, like, you have the Bell Beast, who's great, and you can get around really quickly and easily. And then you get to Act 2, and you're in the Citadel. And, man, when you first get to the Citadel, it's like, oh, my God, they're charging me for benches. And, like, it is really weird here. And then you're in the Underworks.
There's no train station for ages because it's in the bottom southeast of the whole Citadel, which is, like, the last part of the Citadel you get to.
Exactly. So, like, you have no access to your regular fast travel until you find a lift. And this lift goes to this room where you're like, the hell is this random room up here?
I went back via the station at the slab quicker than I got to either any lift that would link me to something useful, or the station in the southeast. So there's one point where I got up to like 600-700 rosaries, and I thought, this is silly dancing around. I'm going to die and lose these all. And then I went back and banked them at a previous place.
I had the same situation where I was like, well, there's the slab, which I know is there. And so I can go and get the Bell Beast to take me there. But then I'm going to have to run all the way back. And it was fine because I did have like a spot. Basically, I did that when I was exploring that kind of left side of the coral chambers. Yeah. So I was like, this is fine because I'm exploring.
I didn't have a map for the slab either. When I got to the slab, I relied on a sign that pointed down, that pointed towards the station.
You didn't have the slab map?
And then I thought to myself, I'm not doing that again. And then after I did that, I Googled and how to find the map for the slab.
Right.
Which isn't that easy.
Oh, so you didn't get the slab when you got zero missioned, which, by the way, one of the best things that happens in this game. You're just walking around and you're just exploring. And I think I don't know when it happened for you. For me, it was like, I think in the Far Fields, or like just after I'd done Greymore or something like that.
There's like an area between Far Fields and the Ant place.
The Hunter's March, yeah.
Hunter's March, that's where I got caught.
So you just come across this enemy, and it's like this guy with a cage, and you're like, okay, I'll just try and attack him. And then I just immediately got hit, and I was like, I'm in the cage. I'm like, oh fuck, how do I get out? And I just keep hitting. I'm like, oh, I'm stuck, and then it just like blackout, and it's like, you wake up in the fucking prison, and I'm like, I cannot believe they pulled a fucking Zero mission in the middle of this game, and she doesn't have any of her stuff, and you have to stealth around and all of that stuff.
It takes a good 45 minutes because you're stealthing, and then you get your pin back, and then you've got a fight, and it finishes with like another kill room that is not that easy. Like, it's pretty tough.
No, exactly. You jump in there, you break the guy's neck, and you steal your stuff back.
Yeah, that's cool. It's not as tough as the birds kill room. That was an early. No, that was an early, really challenging kill room.
Fuck the birds so much. That part of Greymore is so annoying. Holy shit! I really dislike that.
They've got just the most annoying pattern of flying. Like, it's wild.
There's a lot of enemies with annoying flying patterns in this game. The fucking drill guys in the blasted steps are a pain in the ass as well. Like, they shoot their drills out and those like bounce around everywhere, which is stupid. There's a fair share of very annoying enemies, but like that, they kind of talked about this in an interview of like they had to design it around Hornet being a lot more agile and quicker and being able to move around more just efficiently, so they had to give you enemies that were harder to deal with, because if you just had regular Hollow Knight enemies, the game would be a lot easier than it currently is, just based on all of that stuff. So yeah, but anyway, the fast travel system I think works really nicely. And when I got the Grand Bellway, I was like, I just like breathe a sigh of relief, because I'm like, finally an area that gives me quick access to the Citadel and to everywhere else, and I can quickly have a spot to go to and quickly be like, oh, I've got some rosaries I want to spend. Oh, I want to go. There's something in Bellheart to spend money on. Let's go there and hop over and do it and do all that stuff. And that was really good. And I spent 61 hours in this game. I would say about 3 of those hours were spent farming rosaries, and I really didn't mind at all. Like, I was actually
That's a decent ratio.
I was enjoying doing it, because it was like, oh, I found this really good spot and I can just keep doing this, and I got enough to where I could just buy everything I needed to in the game, basically. So yeah, I just basically did that for ages, bought out all the shops, and that had me covered for the rest of the game in terms of having all the items and everything I needed. So by the time I got to Act 3, I basically didn't have anything to buy, because I basically bought every shop in Act 2 by that point in time. So, and
it's not just buying the shops, there's also like donations made to each of the towns, right?
Yeah, exactly.
I'm guessing that's part of unlocking Act 3.
So I'm still unclear on what it is to unlock Act 3. Basically, just do every side quest that you can, everything that is posted on the job board, just do all of those. And
then something will happen to declare Act 3 has started, or?
No, then you have to talk to a character in Songclave, the little... the fucking minister character, whoever he is, the guy who's like running the Songclave area.
Okay, yeah.
You talk to him and he's like, oh, and then you get a quest that has a certain title, and when you get that quest, that's the quest to do the final stuff, basically. And then you go on a little gallivant around to find a few things, and then you go and do it, and that kind of triggers the Act 3 thing happening. Okay. But in order to do that, there are certain quests that you have to do that make you go to Bilewater, that make you go to the Sands of Karak, which is another area, that makes you go to Mount Fay, which you haven't done, which is where you get the double jump, basically. So there's a bunch of areas that you have to do in order to still get to Act 3 in the first place anyway. So
is it weird I missed these areas, or are they quite easy to miss?
No, so like... The areas that I've mentioned, aside from Mount Fay, which I guess some people could go and do, I didn't until after the game, which is, it's basically, it's from the left of the slab. If you go left of the slab, it's in the cold area, and you take damage in the cold. So when I went there, I was like, oh, I'm not supposed to be here because I probably need something to stop me being cold. That's not true. You just go there, and it's designed around you going into hot areas and cold areas and stuff, so that you maintain it. So I just didn't do it, and then afterwards I was like, oh, that's where I go to get that or whatever.
Because the Silk, what's it called? Silk Road?
Sinners Road.
Sinners Road. It's just north of like Greymore.
It is, yes. It's north of Greymore. So,
but there was nothing in Greymore I could see that would help me get up there. Like how'd you get up there?
I can't remember what there is a elevator that takes you up high, basically.
Okay.
And I don't remember how you trigger that elevator, but maybe you have to go around another part of Greymore to get up high and then trigger the elevator to come down. But when you have that elevator, it takes you up. So Sinners Road was an interesting thing for me because I got to the end of Shellwood, which is after Bellheart, right? So you do Shellwood, which is where Sister Splinter is, all that sort of stuff. Then you go and do Bellheart, and you do Widow. And then after beating them, I was like, I have no idea where to go, because you get the Needle-In for doing Widow, right?
Yes.
And I was like, oh, this Needle-In, this must be my key item I need to use to get places. And so I was like, wait, I remember those doors that could only open if you had music for them. And so I was like, oh shit, those are the doors I need to go to. And I looked at those on the map and I found them, and those turned out to be the fucking area where you meet Eva, the like entity who's down there, who's like, oh, I can upgrade your crest or whatever.
Yes,
and
I
was like,
that one.
I was like, oh, but this isn't how I progress. So I was like, surely there must be somewhere where I can use the Needle-In to progress, and I just couldn't find anywhere. And so I looked up online. I was like, where do you go after beating Widow? I was like, what's the area? And people were like, Sinners, that's it, you got to go Sinners Road, that's the only place. And I was like, okay, well, I'll go there. Those people were wrong, as with every information on the internet about...
This was earlier than me Googling it, so...
Yeah, this is like, I don't know, 5 days into the game being out or whatever. And so I'm like, well, I guess I have to go to Sinners Road. And so I go to Sinners Road, and that is the worst experience I had in all of Silksong, bar none, because I was not ready to go to Sinners Road. I should not have been doing Sinners Road, and it was fucking brutal. It was like 2.5 hours of absolute fucking misery. And like, they do a thing that is, this is the thing I talked about on the episode, which you still haven't got to, but like, basically you go through all this shit, this fucking disastrous area, it's awful, poison, horrible enemies that are really hard to kill, take so many hits, and you get to a fucking bench, and you try and use the bench, and it breaks. It's like stuck, and it's like, it doesn't come out, and I was like, I lost my mind. I was like, are you fucking kidding me? Eventually I figured out how to do it, but it was like, oh my god. And I got all the way through Sinners Road, and then Sinners Road basically ends in a dead end, and I was like, well, what the fuck? This wasn't where I was supposed to go. And so then I realized I had to go to the Blasted Steps, because I had actually gone through the Blasted Steps a little bit already, but I didn't realize that I could fucking use my pogo to bounce off of the bell-looking things in the Blasted Steps, because I just messed up once, and I think a couple of times I tried to do it and I just did my regular attack on them. So I was like, oh, I guess I can't bounce off of them. I must need like...
I didn't know that about the cogs in the Cogwork Tower thing, where
right, yes,
that's when I thought, oh, I need the double jump, and then I found out you don't need the double jump to get the game, and then I tried pogoing on a spike again and it worked. I was like, oh my god, right.
Yes, yeah, so that happened to me earlier, but with Blasted Steps, basically, which is why I went on my Sinners Road fucking diatribe and like that kind of like whole side quest. But then that meant the Blasted Steps wasn't so bad, because I was like, I've just done Sinners Road, the worst thing in the world, and so going to Blasted Steps was like, oh, this is quite good actually, it's not too bad. And then Last Judge I really enjoyed. I thought it was very challenging, but it was like,
it's a very good fight. Yeah,
you know, it's like one of those boss fights that, like, I think Widow was half an hour for me and Last Judge was like a solid hour or so. Like, it was a good...
Last Judge was like half an hour for me, and Widow was like an hour and a half, 2 hours.
Wow. Yeah, that's crazy. So yeah, Last Judge I really do enjoy. We have not talked about the Cogwork Dancers, which is maybe my favorite fight from like a narrative perspective in the game.
Yeah,
the way that fight is put together, and also there is more to that gets followed up on in Act 3 that is really cool.
What?
And yeah, dude, it goes really far with that stuff. Like, there's a whole like side thing that happens that you find out that like actually explains where that stuff comes from and the story behind it. Really, really well done stuff. But that fight on its own is so cool in that it's so unique, right? It's like, okay, here's a boss fight where we're really going to clearly telegraph what we're going to do. And so it's like, easy. It is quite easy, generally speaking.
It is one of the easier ends, definitely.
But it's just such a really fun boss fight to do. It gives you that satisfaction of other games. Like, I think one of the things about Silksong is you have to be very careful about how many hits you do on a boss before getting greedy. And the nice thing about the Cogwork Dancers is you can be a bit greedy. You can do like 4 hits when they're on the ground. And it's like, ooh, and I can get a lot of attack damage in here. Like, it's just it feels good to have a boss after doing Last Judge, which is really difficult, that's a bit more of a cooldown, that's like, oh, this is really musically interesting and mechanically unique. And then it has like the 3 phases, and the third phase is actually really cool because it's like they're going at different points in time and you're having to like watch one and then the other and then just figure it out. And then you kill one of them and the other one just sadly does it on its own, and the music like loses one of the instruments and it's slower and it's sadder, and you're almost like, I don't want to kill this other one, you know? It's like, well, I have to, but it's like, I don't, like, it feels like they've lost something, right? It was just so excellently put together. I think that fight is amazing, and definitely one of the best in the game in terms of just atmosphere and narrative and kind of pulling things together. Yeah, I think that one's amazing.
I think also what's so cool about it is how similar to like Mantis Lords and stuff it is. It's just
Right.
so it's the music with the choreography of the pattern, the
Yes.
attack pattern. I think that's what's very similar, and it's multiple enemies again. Obviously, Mantis Lords is 3
Yeah.
enemies, but this was 2. It's like there's a real artistry to the way, and there's such a classical feel and a string violin feel to the whole
Right.
game. Hollow Knight was the same, and obviously it's a Silksong, silk strings,
Yeah.
violin.
You play the
bit of
needle-in?
The needle-in. So like I think that they really hammer that home with the soundtrack, and it's just phenomenal. I loved it.
Did you have a favorite track throughout the game? Any area that stood out to you?
2 favorites are the Citadel and the Cogwork Tower.
When you say the Citadel, do you mean the Choral Chambers?
The Coral Chamber, sorry, yes.
Yes,
Coral Chambers.
Because there's the Underworks as well,
yeah,
and there's the Whispering Vaults, there's the White Ward as well, which is fucking
not been there, but I've got
White
the
Ward.
key for there.
Oh, don't go to the Bally if you if you're scared of things, don't go to the White Ward. It is the Silent Hill of Hollow Knight Silksong.
Oh,
It's it is so scary in White Ward. I don't like it. But yeah, the Choral Chambers is really, really good. And then, yeah, like you said, Cogwork Core, which is the one that sounds like a Leighton versus Right track, or a Great Ace Attorney, as Matt Lorigan messaged me being like, have you got to the track that sounds like Great Ace Attorney? I was like, I don't think so. And then he was like, this one. I was like, right, I see exactly what you're talking about. Sounds just like the Great Ace Attorney. So, yeah, that's really good. My other favorite is Bellheart. Once you save Bellheart, that is such a nice theme. It's like there's something grand about it, but it's also very homely at the same time. Did you get a house in Bellheart? Did you ever do that?
I don't think so. No.
Okay. But yeah, Bellheart felt like my home basically for the kind of most of the game after I unlocked it. I really love the look of that area. Obviously, it starts out very creepy when you first get there, and it's like, the fuck is going on here, with everyone strung up and like creepy kind of like music.
It's quite a long time before you resolve that from the first point at which you go through there.
Yeah, well, you go through it, and then you actually have to go directly into Shellwood, and then you do all of Shellwood, and then you come back and do Bellheart from above, and that's where Widow is basically playing the thing to keep everyone entranced, essentially. So yeah, you manage to kind of break the spell there, but then once that's done, Bellheart became like my favorite place just to hang out in the game. I really, really love that spot. And yeah, some of the boss fight music is also excellent. I think the Grandmother Silk fight as well at the end has fantastic music. Just really good. I think the Lace fight also has really good music. Both Lace fights have a really, really great soundtrack. Yeah.
Are we going to get a third game where Lace is the protagonist?
Ah, boy. I think that I don't know if these guys want to do another Hollow Knight, you know? That, like, if you've spent 7 years and you had it, the reason they made this is because of Kickstarter from 2012 or whatever the hell when they first kickstarted Hollow Knight 1. So I feel like I would love to see what Team Cherry does next, which is something totally new. Like it's the same with Supergiant. It's like, now they're done with Hades stuff. They've, these two teams have been on this one franchise for so long now. What do they look like unrestrained from that? With all the experience, with all the knowledge from these two games, what do they end up doing? And yeah, I'm fascinated to see what they pull off, honestly, because yeah, it's some really cool stuff. Yeah, anything else that we haven't kind of touched on, Bally, that you were kind of like wanting to talk about? I mean, it sounds like for tools wise, in terms of the stuff you use, was mainly like that spike that you throw in the air with poison.
Yeah, I had the arcing spike that I used quite a bit, and then I had the 3-fold spike thing that I used for a lot. Those are my
pin.
Those are my 2 for like most of the game, and then for the final 3 tough bosses that I mentioned earlier, I went back and got that poison spike, suspended spike thing.
Did you ever remove the compass or like any of the other like magnetic stuff?
Not really. I leaned a lot towards the thing that gives you more silk when you get hit that I got from the quest very early in the game. I kept
the druid compass. One, the green one, basically.
Yes. I kept the compass a lot, and I I kept the protecting healing thing for quite a long time as well. I think I used that.
Oh, the shield that stops you from taking damage when you're healing.
I was trying to use in the end games some of that, like Trobio. Has like while you're healing, you do damage.
Oh, the mirror
it explodes.
Yes. Yeah.
It's a little bit too high risk. You got to get near to the enemies just as you're about to heal.
I see. Okay.
You're gonna heal when you're low on health, and you don't want to be near the enemies when you're low on health. So it felt is all that worth it for one or two hits? Not really. So it was a bit too. I'm more turtly than that. I can't do that.
Yeah. Did you ever get the fractured mask? Did you find that?
No. And that is like a huge thing. So I thought I had cleared out Hunter's March, but it's like a secret bit that I just missed. And
yeah, I actually found that on my own without looking it up. I was able to find.
Nice.
Yeah, I found because it's basically a.
Is it just a destructible wall? How do you get to it?
It's not a destructible wall. It's a wall you could walk through, but it's not one you can walk through on the ground. You have to jump up slightly and then go forward. And I somehow just found it. I just kind of lucked into finding it. And so you go all the way through.
Because that gives you like a whole like respite. You can be hit to death, but you get one more hit, right? Like it's a big deal.
Yes, it's huge.
Yeah.
It stops critical damage. It basically acts as an extra mask, essentially.
Right. Yeah,
and
I could have really done that with those last.
Yeah.
Between switching to Wanderer and having that like mask, I swear I could get some of my times down a bit.
I think you could. Yeah, honestly, yeah.
But yeah.
Yeah, there's an NPC there who sells that, but by the time I actually didn't buy it until later because I didn't have enough rosaries at the time. I bought other stuff in his shop, and then I came back later and he was just dead. I was like, oh, okay, but it was there for free, so I just took it. So I was like, okay, thank you, bye.
Cool.
This wasn't even in Act 3. It was like I just came back later in the game and he just died. And I was like, this is very Soulsy. This is a very Souls thing to do, is like come back later and the NPC is just dead on the floor, and you're like, why did that happen? Well, I guess someone found him and took stuff from him. So, that happened a few times of like, oh, NPC is dead. Well, I guess I can get this thing for free now. Thank you. It's a interesting thing. But yeah, that was my main. I mainly used that, and I still kept the Wandering Bell actually as well. I messed around a little bit with the one that extends your silk, so you get more silk. Then when I maxed out I maxed out silk and I maxed out masks, so I could heal twice if I fully charged, basically. Cool. Yeah. And then I had 10 masks, which is the max. I had 10 masks and the fractured mask and double heal. So by the time I got and 4 pin upgrades. So by the time I got to the true final boss, I was fully kitted out, basically. Had 100%ed everything at that point in time. So yeah, I was able to make that fight easier than I think it would have been if I hadn't had those extra things, which I definitely recommend doing because yeah, it makes the game a lot more manageable, I would say.
And you played the whole game with the Wanderer's Crest, which is...
I did, yeah.
A lot of people think is the best.
Yeah, I really liked it just because, like I said before, it's about damage per second, and the crests do not affect your damage. They only affect the way that you interact with the pin. So if, in a scenario where the pin does same damage across each of the crests, if you can do more hits more quickly, you're inevitably going to do more damage over a shorter period of time, basically. So, yeah, I just figured that out quickly, and I was like, right, if I just get these pin upgrades, then I'm going to be outputting loads of damage very fast, and that will, shorten the phases, which means I can get through the bosses a lot easier, and that generally was the case.
There is an upgrade you can get that extends the length of your pin. You didn't use that one?
Yes, I actually did use that for a certain boss fight. Actually, I think that was Grohl the Great in the fucking Ballwater, because I kept missing him, and I was like, this is really fucking annoying. So I switched out the Wandering Bell for the extra length for that. Nice. So then I got the benefit of a longer pin,
but you still
and
get the rapid
quick
fire of
exactly
switching to the Reaper. Yeah, that's good.
Yeah, that's a good combo with the Wanderer's Crest if you do want to do that. I think that's a nice one.
And you got all the crests by the end?
Yep. Do you want to know how many crests there are?
I think there are 7.
There are 7 crests, which is more than I expected. There's a crest I got literally like 58 hours into the game, and I was like, "Are you kidding me?" Yeah. I'm about to finish the game, and you're like, "Here's another crest."
Can you upgrade all the crests?
I don't believe so.
Okay.
I never figured out a way to. So Eva gives you upgrades, and those upgrades are actually based on, I believe, number of tools that you have.
The same one person at the beginning area.
The secret chamber, the needle and gate. Yeah.
So she upgrades all of them at different points.
No, she doesn't. So she upgrades your Wanderer's Crest.
Yes.
And then the next upgrades you get are... so this is the thing that we were wondering about before. You get additional slots that go across every crest. So you get 2 slots that are separated from the crest, but you can put more items into them. So you get 1 blue and 1 yellow. So you get an additional blue and an additional yellow. You don't get an additional red. So I only ever had 1 tool. That's the drawback of the Wanderer's Crest, is it's got 1 red slot, so you can only ever use 1 tool.
Right.
But I had extra blue.
You're already doing so much damage with that DPS, they don't want to completely break the game.
Yeah, exactly. So I had the extra red and the extra yellow and the extra blue slot, as well as the maxed out Wanderer's Crest. So I think I had like 7 or 8 tool slots or overall slots at the end in order to do that stuff. So yeah, but that, I think those are, there's some, I think the mementos you find that expand a crest slot, I think that is the thing that determines when she gives you upgrades, basically. So if you go back to her and you already have had a bunch of memento slots, then she upgrades you, basically.
Okay,
is
cool.
what happens. So yeah,
Interesting.
But yeah, that's pretty much what I had at the end of the game.
There's so much I'm knowledgeable about now from reading things and talking to you that I would be able to go back and find out. And
it will make things a lot
doing
easier.
it.
I think.
Yeah.
But, I think, honestly, I really like the regular ending of the game. I think the fight with Lace is very cool, like, cinematically, with all the fucking flowers and the white and all that stuff.
Stunning. Like, this game just does moments in a way the first game doesn't in the same way. It's really special. It's
just, like, it is one of... And I know this is a weird thing to say about a 2D game. I think it's one of the best-looking games I've ever seen in my life. Like, it looks unbelievable from the way that it just, like, I've compared it to original Hollow Knight. Hollow Knight 1 looks like ass compared to Silksong, which is crazy because I thought Hollow Knight 1 looked really good. And then I go and compare it to Silksong and I'm like, these guys, they leveled up to such a significant degree. This game looks unbelievably good. Like, the way that this game is 2D but still has... I feel like so immersed in this world, despite it being a 2D Metroidvania. It is nuts how much of a sense of place and atmosphere they create through the lighting and through, like, the manipulation of the environment so it feels like it's 3D even though it isn't 3D. Like, there is so much work done there to just make this world feel alive and just vibrant and distinct, that I think is astonishing. Like, it is such a fantastic looking game, and just smooth as butter, just incredibly smooth. Playing this handheld on Switch 2 is like, it's the dream. It feels so amazing, and yeah, I can't say enough good things about Silksong. I think it's a masterpiece. I think it is one of the best games ever made, and I do not say that lightly. I think it really captivated me, and I'm gonna have a hard time.
I was just gonna say, we have been spoiled in 2025, completely spoiled.
Yeah, completely spoiled. Like, how do I choose a game of the year, Bally?
I know.
How do I do this? I was like, Expedition 33, it's a lock. And then I played Silksong, and I was like, oh, fuck me. And then I've been playing Hades 2, and I'm like, oh, for fuck's sake. I'm just like, what do I do? Then we haven't even played Metroid Prime 4 yet. That's not even out yet, Like,
Donkey Kong was pretty great as well.
Donkey Kong's amazing. It's like a fantastic game, and it's not getting in my top 3. It just can't, because there are 3 other games I've played that are like, I like more than Donkey Kong.
I feel like the drop off after Donkey Kong is pretty great, pretty big.
Yeah. It's I don't know. For me, I've got quite a few things I still really, really like. There's Ninja Gaiden, which I'm a big fan of. And there's 100 Line, which is very cool as well. So there's definitely stuff for me that is going to be padding out that top 10 quite nicely. I think it'll be pretty strong at the end of the day. But yeah, man, this top 3 is like... It's savage. These are 3 all-timer video games, and I'm just like, what do I do? I don't know what to do with myself. So, but yeah, Silksong, incredible video game. Yeah, I think that the thing that I really like about the Grandmother Silks fight is like the way the text comes up on screen as she like screams at the start of that fight. I was like, oh my, like it feels like a final boss fight in such a significant way that I really, really enjoyed.
The music in that fight, I think, might be my favorite boss music in the game. Actually, it's
also
stunning.
Like when you kill her at the end and like the silk keeps growing and growing, and suddenly your masks become like steel masks and they like expand as well, and it's like, oh my fucking god, there is so much power in this being that I am just like absorbing all of it, and it's like it does
be similar to the first game. You just like become her, right? That's the
basically
thing.
yeah. I think that's kind of like the ending is like you replace her as like the god of the world essentially.
Yeah.
But like the way that they do storytelling of that through the mechanical UI stuff of like you are just getting so dominantly powerful is so fucking cool.
I'm like, please don't be another phase. Please don't be another phase. Please don't.
Yeah. It's like, no, you have to fight yourself.
Don't do damage. Is it doing damage to me? Am I about to die? Is this bad? Is this bad? Don't make me fight again. But
Yeah.
Try and enjoy the moment.
Exactly. Yeah, for sure. So I think it ends really strong.
Do we know why the Citadel was all like barren and ghostly and everyone?
There's a lot of. So I would recommend probably if you do intend to do the full playthrough, then do that and then watch lore videos. I've watched a couple of lore videos so far. It definitely explains a bunch of stuff of what's been going on and things I didn't really understand. And it's it's one of those. It's like I think the writing is great and I really enjoyed reading all of it and going through all the kind of characters and everything. I will say I didn't really understand what was happening most of the time because it is a kind of a Dark Souls-y type story of I kind of understand what's happening to some degree, but also I don't. So yeah, I think lore videos are going to help you with that just to figure out what was actually going on with the whole thing and how it's connected to Hollow Knight, which there is some very cool Hollow Knight references in the very back half of it as well. So yeah, there's clearly some ties there.
Is it a prequel?
I think it's a sequel. It's a sequel. Yeah, I'm pretty sure it is a sequel after having played it. Yeah. But yeah, that's all at Silksong. Remarkable game. Very, very good. Enjoyed it a lot. And yeah, play it. Go play it.
I think it's nice that two people who really enjoyed Hollow Knight, but it wasn't in our top tier of Metroidvanias, for us to both come along and enjoy this game the amount we did, I think speaks to how well Team Cherry did. I'm very impressed.
Absolutely. I think, so Patrick Lepig, who I was talking about earlier, talking about it on Waypoint, I think he's very similar to us in that he's a very big platformer fan and likes those types of games. And he was similar in Hollow Knight 1, where he finished the base game and was like, that's good, I don't need to do the rest of that stuff, that's fine, finished it. And he had the same thing of like, and he's similar to you, is like he's got kids and he can't just be spending time just doing this one game forever and ever. But he was like, yeah, if I could, I would go back and do the rest of it because there is such a pull for Silksong just because of how compelling it is. And I also think, Act 3 of Silksong is its own thing compared to the way the Hollow Knight 1 worked. Was like, I think you were doing like a bunch of like boss fight stuff and like I don't know, side stuff that wasn't as significant to get to that ending versus like there is a significant chunk of stuff to do to get to the true ending of Silksong, unique bespoke story stuff that matters and is tied into everything. It's not just extra final phase of the final boss just to get it. It's a totally different thing in order to finish it with multiple new areas and all that sort of stuff. So yeah, it's crazy.
Finally, I think I've also just really enjoyed all the internet playing a really challenging game at the same time. And it's in a genre that we're both quite good at, arguably, compared to other genres of video games, and it's just been very fun to be like, is everyone struggling with that boss I just did? Oh well, I guess.
Yeah, it's been very just following certain journeys of people who are like finally getting through things, and I think it's cool to see people like breaking the barrier on a thing that they otherwise might not have been able to. It's great. Have enjoyed it a lot. That's going to do us. That's it for today's show. Long one. Had a lot to talk about, but that's Hollow Knight and that's Hades. And we'll be back, I think, to more regular stuff next time with some emails, I imagine, because those have been put to the sideline a little bit. Obviously, we had a lot of participation with questions for both of these games, but we will go back to some normal stuff and just kind of like wait until some of the big stuff happens. I might pick up Pokemon Bally, we'll see.
Nice.
I definitely I want to play Metroid and Pokemon, and the cheapest way to do it might be to do the vouchers. So I might do vouchers.
Right.
When's
Pokemon out?
I think in like 2 weeks. It's October already, so like but like I think doing the Switch 1 versions and then using the voucher program and then doing the upgrade, I think gets me them cheaper than buying the Switch 2 version, basically. So that's a stupid scenario that is the case here, but yeah, if I want to play both of those, I could just do that, I think. So I probably will end up doing that and play Prime 4 and Pokemon Czar as well. So yeah, awesome. We'll have that to talk about. But until then, thank you everybody for listening. You can find the show in various places across the internet, on Spotify or on Stitcher. You can download us and go find us there and subscribe, all that good stuff. We also would like to thank some of our patrons, Bally.
Yes, thank you to our $10 tier plus patrons. They are Sullivan C, Zach S, Thomas, Matthew, Albert, Wicked Gamer UK, Alan, Orange Thunder, Nintendo Man, and Ali T. Thank you all for your support, but thank you also to all of our other patrons. We really appreciate all the support you give the show. For those that don't know, we have 2 shows over on Patreon. We have this NintendoLife where we talk about Nintendo games. We're going to be talking about some Ghost of Yotei next week. I need to start that game. And we also do Bonus Bits. That's a show where we talk about everything and anything. It's on the $2 tier, so go check those out.
Absolutely. Patreon.com/ThisNintendoLife if you are so interested. You can obviously find us on the internet. I am at NBZ on Blue Sky. Where are you, Bally?
At Ballyman91, that's BALLYMAN91.
Great. You can find the show on Blue Sky as well at TNL Podcast. Go there for updates about what we're doing and if things are delayed and of the such. Also join the Discord, where we got all these questions from about Hades 2. So please join in the community there. That'd be great. And obviously you can find us on YouTube also if you prefer to listen to us in a tab on your browser. So feel free to do that. And I think that is going to do it. Emails, though, Bally. If people would like to send those in for next time, where can they do that?
Please email thisnintendolife@gmail.com. That is thisnintendolife@gmail.com.
Great. I'm sure we'll have a lot of questions leading into Metro Prime 4 at the end of the year. It'll be big. And all the goatee stuff that will end up happening. But that's going to do us. Thank you, everybody, so much for listening. We'll be back in a couple of weeks' time with some more podcasting, some more Nintendo, and some more video games. Until then, goodbye. The musical interlude used on today's show was Moonlight Guide Us from Hades 2, copyright Supergiant Games 2025.